All right, I think I'm live. I got a bunch of stuff on my screen that's doing stupid things. Let's see if I'm live. Doesn't say I'm live there. Let's see over here if I'm live. Yeah, it does say I'm live there. Oh, and the volume's on over here. Let me turn that down. Okay, so I am live. And then it doesn't say I'm live over here, which is weird. Let me try that again and see. Yeah, that's weird that it doesn't show me live on the other phone, but that's okay. I'm all right with that, but I'm live. All right, that's the important thing, that I am actually live, right? You guys can hear me okay. I had to turn the sound down. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Sorry, I'm checking to make sure I was live because I couldn't see if I was live. So, welcome in. Smash those hearts, champions, right? Get some hearts smashed over here. Smash those hearts so we can get some people in here, right? Got to have those hearts smashed so we get some people in here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. It sounded all right. I was checking on the other monitor. I'm monitoring on my phone over here, checking. So say hello and smash those hearts. Ask me your spiritual questions, right? This camera's off a little bit too here, isn't it? Let me, and now I'm doing some crazy stuff with my phone over here when I'm trying to moderate. So let me see what happens when I'm doing that. Okay, sorry. I'm trying to pay attention to what's going on over here and have my phone open at the same time on the other thing over here. And it's getting annoying to me that I'm trying to do that and try to check the sound without making it audio for you guys. Okay, so welcome. Good morning, right? Good afternoon, good evening, or good morrow, depending on where in the world you are tuning into this live, right? There's no funny. I used to say it on my podcast all the time, so I almost automatically say it. Okay, so for most of you in the world, it's Friday the 13th, right? Are you guys scared of Friday the 13th? Show of hands, who's afraid of Friday the 13th, right? Show your hands there, guys. Start telling me whether you're afraid or not of Friday the 13th, right? Welcome, welcome, welcome. So I'm going to tell you the true story of Friday the 13th because everybody's like freaking out every Friday the 13th, and it truly has nothing to do with anything at all. And people think that it does. Oh, it's the devil's number. Oh, it's no, it's none of that. People are so superstitious to Friday the 13th that buildings around the world don't even have a 13th floor. Even though there's a 13th floor, they numbered it number 14 because everybody believes that. Everybody believes that there's something wrong with Friday the 13th because it's all evil, bad, stuff like this. It has nothing to do with any of that at all. Honestly, the true story of Friday the 13th, you can Google this shit while I'm talking to you. I'll tell you the true story of Friday the 13th. True story of Friday the 13th is if your name was on a list, you were unlucky. But it was 818 years ago, 19 years ago, 819 years ago, okay, in the year 1207. 1207. We're in the year 2026. So what is it? 819 years ago, approximately. I think I did that math right in my head. 819 years ago in the year 1207. Okay. That's when that whole Friday the 13th started. Before that, the number 13 was a lucky number and was a spiritual number to actually warding off evil all over the world. You can look that up too. Okay. So here's how the true story of Friday the 13th goes. If you guys are interested in that, and everybody's just scared. Oh, it's Friday the 13th. Bad luck. I'm gonna fall over. Something's gonna happen. I'm gonna lose my job. It's just nope. 800, right? 819 years ago, on October Friday the 13th in the year 1207, the Pope in Rome got together with the King of France, and they were annoyed and tired of the Templar Knights who had all the money and all the land because they had the banking system and they had more land in over there in the Roman kingdom of the church and in the French kingdom of France and over in Europe than they did. Okay, because to join the Templar Knights, you had to be a nobleman first of all, and then you had to give up all of your title and your lands to the knights. That's how they funded themselves. So they had all kinds of money. They funded them. In fact, they invented the banking system that we're running on today worldwide. Worldwide banking system is based on the Swiss banking system. The Swiss government was created by the Templar Knights after they went undercover. Okay, they went, and you can look this up in history too. Okay, so in the year 1207, the Pope in Rome and the King in France both owed a ton of money to the Templar Knights because they borrowed money to have different expeditions and wars that they were fighting. They also didn't own as much land combined as the Templar Knights did. So they got together in a secret meeting and said, we need to arrest all of them, but we have to do it together because they're so big. If we arrest all of them and confiscate everything that they have and divvy it up between the two of us, then we'll bring any of them back into the fold that want to, and if not, we'll execute everybody and we'll take back control. So they got together and said, that's a good idea. So on 1207 at 8 a.m. Zulu time, right, that would have been Greenwich Mean. I don't know if it was Greenwich Mean then. Could have been Roman time. You'd have to look that part up. But at Zulu time, they were going to arrest all Templar Knights everywhere in the world that they knew that they were around at that time specifically. And everybody had a list of names of everybody that was in the ranks of the Templar Knights, and they were going to arrest every single one of them. Okay. So when that time came, the next, that morning on 1207, in the year 1207, on Friday, October 13th, you can look this up, the Templar Knights disappeared forever from the planet. Disappeared, took all of their money, took all of their ships, all of their troops, all of their armor, all of their land deeds, all of their everything, and just disappeared. All of their wealth, all of their secrets just vanished. And literally, but some of them stayed, like about 100, and I don't know the exact number, but it was in the high 100, almost 200 men stayed, including the head of the Knights Templar at the time. And they were all tortured for their information and eventually burned at the stake, hung, slain, chopped their heads off, all that kind of stuff. Sorry, TikTok, I'm talking about history, so I'm saying these words and I shouldn't be. And if your name was on that list, you were unlucky, because then they were trying to hunt you down, because they needed to find these people and they didn't have any of their stuff. So they confiscated the land, right? So what was that you were saying there? Somebody said something. They were executed by the king's army. Correct. Anybody whose name was on that list, if they found them, they would execute them, right? They would get rid of them. So those people had to hide, change their names, the whole nines. So those people completely disappeared off the face of the earth. And then, of course, anybody that was around had to change their names. They moved to other places. And at that time, some knights showed up there in the mountains of Switzerland and took control of the pass where these raiding guys were over there. Robbers were robbing people. Took control of that and ended up creating Switzerland. Look at their flag of Switzerland and see what it looks like. Well, weird. It's the Templar Cross. They also showed up in Scotland at the Battle of Bannockburn when what's his name, Robert the Bruce, the 15th Earl of Scotland, decided to fight and go. You guys saw the movie of Braveheart at the end when they charged across the field and won their freedom. That battle where they won them freedom, what they don't show you, what Mel Gibson didn't film, was that at the end of that battle, there was knights that came out of nowhere riding on horses and saved the day. Where are the Templar Knights based out of today? The Sinclair family in Scotland. You guys might want to take a look at that. Okay, so Friday the 13th, going forward, was because of that, Friday, October the 13th, 1207. So your name was on that list. It was bad luck. That list continued for a very long time because people were hunting down all of these noblemen all over the place, trying to find them because they wanted to find out where their money and wealth and ships and all of their, everything that they had, where it was. So they were looking for these men. So if your name was on that list, it was bad luck. So because of Friday the 13th, and now here 800 years later, 819 years later, everybody's afraid. We're so afraid of Friday the 13th that everybody comes out and starts going, oh my God, it's Friday the 13th, bad luck. We don't even name the building levels number 13, right? It's a silly superstition because it was only the few thousand men who were on that list, probably 10,000 or so people, because it was a whole military of people on that list that they were looking for. So they looked for them for a very long time, probably for at least 60 or 70 years, Probably maybe not that long, depending on the life expectancy of the average person. But I'm sure they continued to look for legacy wealth from anybody in their families. So they probably looked for those people on those names, and because of Friday the 13th. So here we are 800 years later, and everybody's freaked out about the number 13 when it lands on a Friday. Any other time, nobody seems to care if it's Tuesday the 13th or Wednesday or Thursday or Saturday or Sunday or Monday. Nobody seems to care. Have it land on a Friday, and everybody freaks out, right? That's children being afraid of the dark. Okay, children being afraid of the dark. So yeah, but those of you, I'm in New South Wales, Australia, so it's actually Valentine's Day over here. I don't even want to get started on Valentine's Day and why we do that. You should look that one up. I don't even think I could talk about it on TikTok without getting banned or something. Right? Everybody's like, "Oh, it's because of Saint Valentine." Well, you mean Valentino, the guy who has had sex with everybody? Is that what you're talking about? So I don't even want to get started on Valentine's Day, but Friday the 13th, for those of you who are in the Americas or Europe right now, because it's still Friday for you. I'm in Australia, New South Wales, Australia. So for me, it's Saturday, right? But yeah, Friday the 13th is bunk. It was literally just the Pope in Rome, and the King in France going after the Templar Knights in 1207, and it was October, Friday the 13th, 1207. I actually have a podcast called Orion Rising, and I did two different episodes on there years ago. The first one was 3 hours. I think they were both 3 hours long each. Had guests on, and we were actually talking to people who were historians and knew everything about the Templar Knights. And we talked about it for a total of 6 hours, two different shows about Friday the 13th. If I think you can still hear them on MP3 broadcast. It's hard to say these days because I was deplatformed. This is February. So in March, it'll be 4 years ago, I think. 4 years ago, I was deplatformed from Google because I had said something about the jibber jabber and proved some stuff that's now fact. But at the time, I proved stuff because I was listed as a chemist in the United States of America for 10 years. And at that time, I was still listed as a chemist, and I was looking up things and was showing comparative things that I dare not mention on a communist platform like this one even today, even though there's people out there that have actually shown that what I was talking about back then is actual fact now, and some of the videos are on this place. Google deleted over 500 episodes of my podcast, but there's another 545 or 555 episodes back up on YouTube and all over the world, but I don't know if those are still available because last year in May, Facebook decided to delete all back videos that weren't broadcast live on Facebook. So I had all 1,000 episodes of my podcast go missing, and I didn't have them on MP3 podcast until 4 years ago now. So I think I only have 555 episodes for you to listen to. It's called Orion Rising. You guys should check it out. Okay, so I'm here to answer your spiritual questions today. I haven't been live for about 6 or 7 days now. I've had a lot going on, so I wasn't able to do that. So I'm actually live because my wife, even though it is Valentine's Day here in Australia, she has to work today. So we're going to celebrate Valentine's Day when she gets off of work. And it's in the morning now. It's 10 after 9 in the morning here in New South Wales, Australia, but it's 10 after 2 p.m. on the west coast of the United States. So that would be 10 o'clock, 10:10 over in Europe, right? If you're on UK time. So some of you guys it's getting later for you, but it's still Friday the 13th. So I thought I'd come on here and poke you guys and go, don't be afraid of Friday the 13th. Only children are afraid of Friday the 13th because they think that there's some sort of superstition about it, that they're going to trip over a crack and break their mom's back if they step on a crack while they're walking down the street. Or my father was very worried about black cats, and if a black cat crossed his path, and this is no word of a lie, when I was a boy, I'm not even kidding you. When I was a boy, one time we were driving down the street and a black cat walked across the street. I am not kidding you, no word of a lie. My father pulled over and stopped the car, and I said, what are we doing? And he said, a black cat just walked across the street. So he was pulling over the car. So your choice, according to superstition, is if a black cat crosses your path, you got to go back the other way, or you got to stop and wait 30 minutes and then go through. So he was going to park there and wait 30 minutes, and I told him that's silly. This is silly. Your life's not going to change because an animal that with a certain color walked in front of you. I was probably, I don't know, 7 or 8 maybe at the time. He decided to go back the other way. He turned around and drove around and went the other way. Crazy, right? My grandpa turned around and went the other way down the street. Telling you, that's what my dad ended up doing. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that nuts? They believe that crap. Now, some things you might want to go, okay, there might be something to a couple of those weird superstitions, right? Because some of them aren't really superstitions. There's something weird going on. But a black cat, come on, you got to be scared to death to think that a color of a cat because it's black. Witches like black cats, right? That's been synonymous with witches and Halloween with black cats. So we're getting a black cat. My wife and I are getting a black cat. We already have one that's multicolored. He's white and has like gray and brown stripes on his back. He's really cute. He was just looking at me. I'm sitting here in the dining room, and looking out the door, and he was outside and he was looking at me, but he wandered off. But we're getting another cat, a black cat, and she has we don't know what color eyes yet because she's just a baby. They just opened, so when they're even human babies, most of their eyes look blue at the time when they first open, right? Yeah, there are signs. There are some signs that you had to worry about some things, right? You need to listen to the universe. Agreed. That's what I'm saying. So people get their children and they get afraid of the dark, man. And so they're like black cat witches and, because of witch familiars and, stories that were told to people and the people reading books. People that are not well educated or that are mentally like children will believe just about anything. That's part of what's being done here, right? That's part of what's being done here in this matrix by these people who think they own all of us. They're trying to keep all of us in a low vibration so that we're, more childlike in our minds, so that way we're veiled completely and we can't see with our third eye. And because of that, we're sitting around, asleep or half asleep. Most people are asleep and they don't even know what's happening to them. So they're treating us the same way. The programming on television is the same exact way. It's programmed for like 8-year-olds, and the conversation is very simple. And, all of the everything that goes on. I watch the shows and I'm like, this is like Mr. Rogers. The only difference is they're not talking like Mr. Rogers. You know what I mean? So it's kind of crazy, right? So, oh, that's kind of cool. It's giving me the option. I had it set up before for, well, now it's going to be doing something with the camera. So I apologize if I freeze for a second because I was hitting the button to go ahead and post the reel that just came up. Hopefully I didn't. I'm looking at the monitor over here to see if I disappeared. So I have it set up so that like every 10 minutes it'll pop up. Before it was automatically posting it would cut out like a video of 30 seconds every few minutes, and it puts it into the studio and you could look at it later. So I had it set up on the phone so it would automatically post those to the site, to Merlin and Maeve, right? Well, I decided that it was posting stuff and sometimes it gets a little redundant, right? So I said, no, don't do that. But I didn't realize I left it on in the studio and it just popped up on the screen and said, do you want to post it? And I said, let's, try it. I pressed the button. So then my screen went blank and it was buffing and it was going over to the thing for me to approve it and post it. And I wasn't sure if you guys were able to hear me or see me, right? So, right, yeah, not afraid of the dark. You need to listen to the universe, not afraid of the dark. See, that's the problem is that let's get back to that. Well, because of their programming, what they're doing to us, smash those hearts, guys, so we can get some more people in here. The more hearts we have, the more popular the show gets, and then we can get some more people in here. And then share this out, too. Please share this out to people so that anybody that you might think might be interested in learning about spirituality and learning how to hack this matrix that we're here. This is what I'm for. If you guys watch any of my content, if you don't, follow me. Follow us at Merlin and Maeve. This is my wife and I's company platform. My name is Leonard O'Neill, and I have also have a platform here on TikTok where I post videos from this kind of stuff that I'm live, and we're as you can see on the screen, right? Psychic development. We actually teach psychic abilities. We're Reiki master teachers and ministers and mediums and the like. My wife and I both, as a matter of fact, we're life coaches and spiritual life coaches as well. So we're teaching you guys. We came here, and I'm a little crooked here with the camera because I slid around in my chair. So we came here to help you guys so that you can remember what's going on, right? Let's see, backing up and going the other way changes many things that were going to happen. Butterfly effect. Well, I mean, if you believe in superstition, you're absolutely right. If you believe that an animal of a certain color is going to hex your life just by crossing in front of you, then you're absolutely right. Backing up and going the other way is the only way that you're going to make sure that you don't have that happen to you, because nothing happens to you unless you're doing it. Okay, you need to realize that one. That's why the story of the vampire has to knock on the door and ask permission to come in your house, because the vampire just can't come and get you because you have free will. That's the story. That's the entire lesson that's supposed to be learned by the vampire having to knock at the door, right? So if you watch any vampire movies, the vampire has to come into the house and be invited into the house before it can come in and try to get your energy. Okay. And in the old movies and books, they were, sucking your blood to get your blood. It was your life force energy, but somehow it evolved into blood, right? So, you don't know my ex-wife, right? Well, everything is, you have to believe it. So if somebody tells you, I can destroy you with my mind, and you believe that, and then they go, I put a hex on you, now you're believing that, you're accepting it. So you have to realize that your focus determines your reality. So you're only a prisoner in your own mind. So people can only control you if you allow them to. That's why they have to do things physically to us, because if they can't get us mentally, they have to come after us physically. That's what they do to try and prove to us that they have power over us. So first they try to convince you that they are something, and if you're afraid of them, you'll do whatever they tell you to do. If you're not, then they have to come and beat you and lock you up and put you in a prison somewhere. That's the only way they can force you to do that. So the same thing goes in the way of dark magic or any other thing. We teach this. We teach a course on it. You see it right here on the screen, right? The new Defense Against the Dark Arts courses, because they're so popular. We teach this. Your focus determines your reality. So if you believe that somebody has power over you, you give them power over you. Okay. So as soon as you say to them, without even knowing you're saying to them, I submit to you. That's why they use this term when they're talking to you in English, and they say, do you understand me? Do you stand under me? Do you submit to my will? Do you understand me? That's what they're saying. You're understanding them. You're standing beneath them, and you don't realize that they're programming you. This is the kind of stuff that they do to us all the time. That's why they call the television programs. That's why if you go to a play, they give you a program of what they're doing. If you go to a sporting event, they give you a program which tells you the events, the current events that's programmed for the day. So you have to realize that they're telling you right in your face. They're telling you that they're programming you. They don't call them shows on television. We do. We'll say, you're watching your show or you're watching the show. It's a program. It's programmed. It's a network that is programming. These algorithms are the same. These algorithms are programming you because what they do is they're like this algorithm that we live in. These algorithms are what you give it. So if you hit like on something, you get more of that content, because they're trying to keep your attention. Because the drug is this algorithm, just like AI is the drug now. All these algorithms all over the internet and the internet itself, they want your attention. Your intention, your attention determines your reality. Your focus determines your reality. So your attention is what they want. That's your slave. That's your slave chain. Your slave chain is debt and your attention. So you have to go to work because they tell you you owe money. So therefore you have to dedicate your time, your attention, by doing something for them so that they give you money so that you give it back to them. That's how this all works. We all do it, right? I can't do anything. I live here and I have to pay somebody money to live in the place that I'm living in because someone else owns it, because I can't own it. Then if I own it, I have to pay taxes to the king. Well, I'm in Australia, so that's literal. Right? But you guys have to do it wherever you are in the world. If you're in America, you don't really own your land. Your government claims they own the land, and you're just living on it. And if you don't believe me, ask somebody who owns a house. and ask them if they have to pay taxes on the land that they're on. That's a tithing. That's a leasing from the government. It's allowing you to be on the land. They're taxing you to be on the king's land, on whatever you want to call that, right? The president's land, the corporation's land, the American government's land. So literally, they're taxing you. Then they tax you to drive on their streets. Oh, but these taxes are so that we can repair the roads. Well, the roads are never perfect. Same thing with going across a bridge. They charge you money to go across the bridge, or they charge you money to drive on a highway, right? This is, whatever the toll booths are there for, and they tell you that's to maintain them. But then you're paying taxes in that place. Well, the places who don't have state taxes, I get those things, because now you're paying for the roads. You're literally paying for the roads by driving on them. Places like California, where I grew up, they're charging you taxes for the roads, and then they're charging you a tax to go across the bridge. And it's the same thing. And then they're trying to charge you for driving on certain roads. And now they're trying to charge you by how many miles you drive in the state of California. That's why I left that country. Love that country, but you got to be in a free state, right, guys? If you're in America, you know what I'm talking about. If you're in America, you have to be in a free state. It's getting to the point where it's getting pretty bad, and people are starting to draw those lines, and you're going to have to do something about it. Well, here's the thing. We don't have to do anything in the physical. They want us to do stuff in the physical. Why? Again, this has to do with the vampire at the door. They need our belief. If you're afraid of them, which is why they try to rule the way they do, then they can say we own you. If you're not afraid of them, they can't do anything to you. But it takes like the majority. That's the problem. It takes the majority of the people to say, sit down. No, go to your room. Do you see? So, but the truth is, you have to realize that they are exerting control because they're telling us they own us without telling us they own us. Do you see that? And how do they do that? Here's how they do that. This is how this matrix works. Okay. Let me just tell you how this place works. Okay. This matrix that we live in, that is this third dimensional reality, works the exact same way. And they know that. It gives you what you like. It gives you what you want. So your focus, again, determines your reality. So when you go on an app like TikTok, what your focus is, what's your focus? My focus is oh, that was funny. Oh, that was funny. Oh, that was funny. They're going to recycle more of those type of things to you, those categories. If you're all over the place and you hit like on a whole bunch of things, you're going to get a whole bunch of different things. But if you hit like on too many of the kitty videos, you're going to get kitty videos until you change that algorithm. And I've told people that all the time. I'm like, if you don't believe me, go on there and pick a subject like, comedy or something, and get a person doing stand-up comedy and hit like on it. Then start scrolling, and you're going to get the other stuff that you hit like on a lot. And then you find another comedy, hit like on it. Find another comedy, hit like on it. After you do about the fifth or sixth one, you're going to get comedy after that. You have to look for other things. It'll give you some other things. If you keep swiping, it'll start giving. It defaults back to whatever your highest pattern was before, and it starts giving you. Then it'll start giving you your friends. Well, these are the people they follow, so that'll pop up. So if you don't hit like on something long enough, it gives you people people you're already following. It gives you their content because you're already following them. It's trying to give you something to hit like on to keep your attention, to keep you on the app. That's the algorithm. I used to program this stuff. It's designed for that. I used to be an app builder. I was listed in the Apple Store, the Apple App Store, as an app builder back in 2016. And literally is what keeps your attention. So whatever your focus is on is what they're going to give you. This place does that. So if you focus on negative things and you're like a conspiracy theorist, and I've gone down those things, so don't think I'm just like pointing that out and saying you are, because I got, deplatformed from Google for being a conspiracy theorist, right? So literally what your focus is, so if you only see negative in the world, that's all you're going to see is the negative in the world because that's what you're focusing on. If you see positive in the world, you're going to see more positive in the world because that's what you focus on. If you balance between looking at the positive and the negative, you'll get to see everything. I told people that when you're like in the United States or any country, especially the United States because it's so polarized with so many people there, right? You got your progressive Democrats and your conservative Republicans. Then you have these moderates that are right in the middle. Most of the country are moderate. Most of the country are not on those extreme wings of the same bird. They're right in the middle. They're trying to pull everybody to that. They control all the media, and they give you only those extremes, so that you get polarized and you fight against each other. You argue with each other. That way, if you're not getting along and you're afraid of your own people around you, your own family members, you're arguing, you're not paying attention to what they're actually doing. And together, they're ripping us all off. Okay. That is the same scenario of they're giving you what you want because you're focused on it, keeping your attention on it. And they're going, look over here, look over here, look over here, look over here. And people say, that's just not true. And I say, okay, then let me ask you this. During the Christmas season, which we just went past, we're in February now, during the Christmas season in the United States, somewhere between October, starting of October with Halloween, going into November, and definitely from November all the way to January, why is it that everybody's really nice to each other and everything is people go, I wish it was like this all year round. It's just so nice and everything's, except for when you're in the stores and people are fighting over things. But otherwise, everybody's really nice. Do you know why it seems in your mind that everything is really nice at that time of year? Because it's the holidays. And what's going on in the holidays? And I tell people this, it's coming up. You got another 10 months and you'll be back in the holidays. Remember my words when you get back to October and November around the world, wherever you are, especially if you're in a European style country. Okay. Which, it is most of, all of Europe, North America, Australia, right? Those governments are European style governments. This government here is set up, European style. So is America, so is Canada, so is Germany and Sweden and Finland and all of them, right? All of Northern, Southern Europe, all of that. Greece, all of that. Western style, okay? So they're going to be, Christians, even parts of Africa where there's Christianity, so you have Christmas. So here's what's going to happen. Right around the holidays, all of your politicians go on vacation until the first of the year. Because of that, the news cycles all over the world have nothing to talk about. So they're talking about holidays and little kittens in a tree and firemen saving people. There's nothing going on. Okay. It's rare that you have war. It's ultra, ultra rare that a politician is standing before a camera screaming and yelling about the opposition and talking about them being evil dictators and stealing the world and going after your democracy, because they're all on vacation, partying with one another and having their kids and grandkids get married to each other and dividing up the world. Okay. And I tell people that, look at what happens. Everybody's like, oh, everybody gets along during Christmas and the whole month from November to December, all the way to January. And then it gets all crazy again. That's when the politicians come back to work. It's when the politicians come back to work. Okay. So they're the ones driving that narrative because their owners own the networks. Their owners own all the companies. So those people are the ones that are keeping all of us fighting with each other and our attention on anything but what our attention should be on. Okay. They play Christmas songs instead of brainwashing music. Yeah. Right. I mean, and then the Christmas song, some people say it's brainwashing music and people go, oh my God, that same song we're hearing Jingle Bells now by the 47th star singing it, right? So that gets kind of monotonous, but you also have to remember why they're doing it. I was a retail manager for 15 years. There's a reason that they're doing it. Everybody in the world, especially in the European countries, you guys know what Black Friday is. If you're in the United States, Black Friday is the day after Thanksgiving. If you're anywhere else in the world, they don't celebrate Thanksgiving, but they have Black Friday. Why is that? People don't understand what Black Friday is. Any of you out there that have ever been in retail, you'll go, yeah, I know he's right. Yeah. Okay. Retail is what drives all economies in all of the free world, where we call it the free world, where you have this fake money, right? Where you have this central banking system where there is no real money backed up by gold or silver or anything like that. Retail drives that business, war and retail. So if there's not a war going on, you need the retail money. Retail doesn't make money all year long from January until November. Black Friday is the day they start making money because people are buying stuff for the holidays. Okay. If you're in the United States, that starts in October because you have Halloween, which is the second most money spent on a holiday in the United States has already surpassed the 4th of July. And the only thing that more money being spent on is Christmas. So in America or anywhere where they do that, You have Halloween with all the candy and decorations. You go right into Thanksgiving and fall decorations. Then you go right into Christmas. So you have all this money being made in the last 3 months of the year. That's where retail companies make all their money. Black Friday is the day that they're no longer in the red, and now they're in the black. They're actually turning a profit. Okay, so they need that time unless there's a war machine working. If there's no war machine working, they need the retail companies to have you guys spending your money. So the only way that you do that is the politicians take the time off, and they're not beating you down and having you go at each other and believing there's some race war or there's some religious war or there's a civil war or whatever they're stirring up in a political war. And then they need you to go out and spend money. So they give you all the programming for all the movies and all the television, and all of that is, oh, yay, Christmas, buy, spend. They make all their money. They go back to work in January, and then it's business as usual because they know that retail's not going to make money anyway, so they have to make war. Okay, so they need to have you guys yelling and screaming at each other, making signs, spending money to go and buy the materials to make the signs, to go out to protest, to throw the signs away, to get some more, or have them provide them for you because they're corporations and companies that are paying you money to go out and do that. And again, what are they doing? Distracting you. And they're paying you money to be their slave to go out and protest so they can film it and tell the world that there's all these people that are very passionate about this thing. And 90% of the people are being paid to do it. And they're all actors or professional protesters. Okay. And they get paid to do that. And then the news agencies film it and they tell you there's a problem and you start yelling at your friends and neighbors and you're completely occupied when you're not at work. That's all you're doing. So they make you go to work all day because you have to, because they keep you making not enough money so that you have to keep going back to work so that you can't spend anything extra. So what did you do on your off time? Now you're arguing with your family and friends or because you're picking a side of one of the wings of the same bird. All of this is a scam. This is what they do to all of us all the time. Okay. They distract us from what we actually are. Right. We are more powerful than we know. That's what they don't want you to know, my friend. You're absolutely right. 100%. All the people that I've met are spiritually usually end up being manic or experience psychosis. Well, then that's because they're not doing things properly. Because if either that or you're just making it up. Because people that are spiritual, if they are truly spiritual and they're not religious, because religion recruits you, spirituality waits for you to find it. Wrote a book about it. It's called The Reality About Reality, The Return to the Old Ways by me, Leonard O'Neill. Okay, it's a quote from my book. So most people, if they're truly spiritual, they don't end up manic and they don't end up having a psychosis because being spiritual is going to unlock in you the knowledge that's going to not allow them to do anything to you anymore and gaslight you anymore. So if they're manic, they were not actually spiritual. They were trying to do it. They didn't have any guidance and they were beaten down by people. Right? It's unfortunate. Not hate, but just a question about that stuff. I think I might have missed your question. So unless you were talking about that, spirituality, no dogma, right? No, true prophets demand nothing, right? True spirit. That's the way that it is about. All of the religions that are out there today were not supposed to be religions. They were ways. They were a way to ascend. Okay. And I have 4 religious titles. Know that I have 5 spiritual titles, 4 of which are religious, but I'm not a person who preaches religion. I'm not trying to sell you anything. Dogma, domination. The dogma of the religions has been from the top, the corruptible thing to control the masses because the religions have become corporations and they want to have a Starbucks on the corner of every Starbucks, right? On the corner of every street or a Starbucks across the street from a Starbucks. They're a corporation that's trying to dominate the world, so they want to have their church on every corner. They're no longer trying to teach you spirituality. They're not teaching you how to get out of here. I was knighted by the Roman Catholic Church, and I'm a Christian minister since 2016. I have a Merlin title that I got when I was 19, and I'm 58, so almost 40 years ago. Okay, I got a Merlin title. Okay, the truth is this. I'm also a Reiki master teacher. A Reiki master is a very spiritual, it's a spiritual way, but we are not allowing it to become a religion. Okay. It is a way of ascension and healing people. Healing first and ascension comes with that if you become a master. Okay. So religion recruits you, spirituality waits for you to find out, right? American Roman what is that? Rebranded. I was raised in the Latin Roman Catholic. I was raised Roman Catholic. I was knighted by the Roman Catholic Church. I was raised Irish Catholic, Roman Catholic, right? And so being a knight of Columbus gives me that minister title. I'm a monk, a paladin. So literally, the Christian Church is only teaching you the Book of Romans. They use all the other books to reference so that you think that the Book of Romans is the way to be, and they're teaching the Book of Romans. That started when Constantine was in charge, right? And then of course it was after that. When was that? And like Constantine was about 325, where they edited the Bibles. They claim Constantine didn't actually edit the Bibles, but he did. And then there was another. That was at the First and Second Council of Nicaea, and then there was a council of, I think it was Gibraltar. Don't quote me on exactly when it was. There was another one that happened about 50 years later, and that one really edited the Bible. And I forgot the name of it right now. I know I'm not I'm a theologian, but sometimes I forget dates when it comes to all of this because I stress more about learning the different ways. Right, 313 is that when it was? Thank you. So in 313, that was when they had the next council, and I forgot which council it was, where it was at. Now I just was looking at it yesterday. And that one edited all those books. So we have all these, 86 books or whatever it was that they edited out. So between Constantine and then that in three or in like you're saying 313, 325, and then after that, about 50 years later, the next one, and then of course King James in the 1200s. The Bibles are completely different. So Constantine, a Roman emperor, starts teaching the book of the Council of Nicaea, starts teaching the First and Second Council of Nicaea, the Nicene councils. That was Constantine. Then there was another one that happened about 50 or 60 years later. It was after he died. There was another one, and I forgot what it was. It wasn't the Nicene councils. It was like I don't remember it. Darn it! I'll have to Google it. Yeah, I was just looking at it the other day, and I was like, I got to remember that. But then King James, of course, messed. Yeah, King James had mommy issues. King James changed stuff, and you see people now showing you how things were written and how King James changed words on purpose, especially when it referred to kings doing bad things. Right? He changed that to people, and the word before that said kings or leaders of countries. And he changed that to people instead because he didn't want people to see, he wanted people to trust him as a king. So there was editing that were going on. People want to say that there wasn't. They want to say, well, God said that if you do these edits, then, okay, well, God didn't do anything about these edits because it happened, okay? Because the people just believed that. So God's going to do something about those edits. Some people say that because Constantine did what Constantine did, God got mad at Constantine, and Constantine was made to live forever. That's the movie Constantine that came out with Keanu Reeves. Most people don't realize that's supposed to be that Constantine that was around in the year 200. Okay, and that he didn't die and that he was around forever. Do you think belief in gang stalking is mostly paranoid delusion? It depends on where you're at, because some places the gangs do bad things. Depending on where you are. In the United States right now, you probably have a lot of that going on. It used to be that way in the 1960s. Then it wasn't, but now you have all these gangs that have come from South America and Central America and Mexico and the like that are, cartel gangs that are doing things. Depending on if you're in Africa, you have gangs over there that are drug lords or whatever that are doing those things. So, some of that stuff is real. It was going on in the United States before I left the United States. It was going on over there. So it depends on where you are and what world you're in and where you live, what the demographic is of where you live. Is that stuff real? It's happening. That's the bad part. The Nag Hammadi teachings was eye-opening to me. Some people get annoyed with that. I was just looking at that. I was reading the first two books of that, and some people say it's nonsense, but I don't believe that anything that was written by anyone, even if they were trying to propagate something out of it, is a bad thing, because everything serves the all, right? Everything serves the total collective consciousness. So even like the Satanism, that serves the all. The people that are evil serves the all, because the boogeyman, people that are evil and do bad things to people show that you can't have light without dark, you can't have up without down, so you can't have positive without negative. So the only way that you can have peace is that you need to see war so that you understand what peace is, or you understand, because we don't stand under anyone. So I will always tell everyone
that you should read everything that you can find. The Nag Hammadi is one of those things that people should read, because the information that's in there is an information that they were trying to suppress when they were suppressing the information that we found in the Dead Sea area. And we know that the stuff that was in the Dead Sea area that we found there was actually in the Bibles before, because the Ethiopian Bible still has those books, and so does the Eastern Orthodox Church, still has those books in it. So they refused to allow the Council of Nicaea and the one after that to change their Bibles, and they walked away from the table. Okay, so some of the same information, my point is, that was taken out of the Bibles at Nicaea and the other council, is the same information that's being told in the Nag Hammadi, especially the feminine and the androgynous creation, the androgynous creator, not sex. There's no sex in your Holy Spirit. You're not masculine or feminine. You're only masculine and feminine down here in this place. So the Nag Hammadi, even if they say that parts of it were not accurate, but the other parts were. So I agree with you 100%. I felt, as a theologian, I study everything, and I look at those and compare those to see who said this when, why did they say it, just like a forensic scientist. Because when I was in philosophy, but in the defense of my philosophy teacher, he was a monk, right? But he was teaching that to truly understand philosophy, you have to know who wrote it, when they wrote it, why they wrote it, what was their mindset, what was happening geopolitically at the time for them to write what they wrote or think the way they thought. So I applied that to everything, because at one time I was going to go to work for the FBI in the United States. I wanted to be a profiler, and I was studying for that, to be a profiler, to go after bad guys. Learning, the first step in avoiding a trap is knowing of its existence, and the best way of capturing somebody who's doing something bad is you have to know their mindset. So the same process to me when I was in college about that idea of you have to know when somebody wrote something, what they were writing, and what they meant. You have to do the same thing for a serial unaliver, because I can't say that word on this platform. Okay, so in investigation of everything, you always have to look at Occam's razor. Okay, so you have to look at things and say, what is the common denominator? Who are the pieces that are on the board, and who did what, and who would benefit from all of this that's going on? That's standard practice for thinking inside the box, and then you think outside the box. So if you're looking at history, why would you not do the same thing? If you're looking at religion, why would you not do the same thing? What happened? Where were they? When was the religion created? How was it created? By who? What did they think? What was happening in the world at the time? Why would you not do that? So as a theologian, I'm investigating and comparing spiritual practices. So I also have to learn history, and I also have to learn military history and political history, geopolitical history, and of the world at the time, to actually get what was happening with the Hebrews and when Jesus showed up, what was happening with the Romans at the time, what was the geopolitical event that was going on in that dynamic at the time for that event to take place, and then what came out of that, right? There's more things that you need to look at, right? You can't just look at things on the face. So let's get back to the Nag Hammadi. Looking at the Nag Hammadi, you see that the rose, you see that the Sophia, that's the feminine. The first thing that is the biggest thing that they're trying to eradicate about that is the feminine needs to be out of the way. Well, that's exactly what they did with Christianity. That's exactly what they did with all other religions. Okay, so all spiritual ways, the evil people on this earth took the feminine out and threw it out of the way and told them to shut up. And anybody who was feminine, who was free thinking and tried in any way to elevate that femininity, were taken care of, right, in some way, right? So, because I can't say those words, right? A rose blossoms in the dark. Love that, Tina. Tina Turner, love that name. Lilith, another one. Okay, right. So you have Mary, right? Mary Magdalene. Look what they did with her from that religion. Lilith, and that goes back to the Hebrews, and even further to the creation. That goes back to the story of Adam and Eve, which goes back to the story of Adama, or the ancient story of Adapa. Right? So we're looking at going back thousands, tens of thousands of years, and they were controlling the narrative and taking out the feminine to keep people what? Simple-minded, more warlike. That's what you got going on today. You still have the remnants of that, right? Adam's ex-wife, correct. Adam's first wife. And why did she get taken out? because she wouldn't do what Adam told her to do. She wouldn't have sex with him when he said to do it. Then he went, God, she won't have sex with me. And God said, you must be a whore. She doesn't want to have sex with you, and so therefore she's, too promiscuous. Get out, and we'll give you a new one. This is going to hurt, though, bro. Come here. I'm going to pull out one of your ribs and make a woman who's going to lie with you whenever you want, and she's going to be barefoot and pregnant and take care of you. That's obviously that story's been tampered with. It's wrong. Okay, but what's right about it is that it was the feminine they were trying to get rid of when they reordered that or rewrote that storyline to write the women out as powerful women, as free thinking women, as something that's very bad, right? To keep people in a constant, what is this? To keep people, let's see, I believe that there is truth in the Bible. There is. I'm not saying that there's not. Don't think that I'm telling you that religions are bad. They've just been controlled from the top down. And if you read them, they still have to have all the truth in it, right? They keep people in a constant state of flight or fight. Yes, they do. So they do that on purpose because they need everybody to be that way, because people who are in fear actually are easier to control. So they try to control you with guilt and fear and keep you in that state. All of the religions still telling you the right things. I wrote a book about it, right? This book talks about that, right? The Reality About Reality, Returning to the Old Ways by me. That talks about that they're doing this to you. The religions themselves are not corrupt, but at the top they are. And there's a curriculum that they have now that the people down below who are trying to help you can't give you the information that they're supposed to be giving you. They try and they do the best they can given what is going on. The pastors at every, at the base level with all of us, those guys are trying to help out. Those men and women are trying to help out. But the church as a whole is trying to keep them even from doing that. So if you read the Bibles, this stuff is still in there. And it's still in there, and it's in there in a way that where they had to use these secret codes, right? So yeah, fear is their food. Exactly. Fear is their food. They use that to keep us controlled. We stay in a lower mindset when they do that, right? Notice that Roman religion still has mama as the boss. Well, it depends on, there are still some who resisted and they kept the feminine, right? There's still a few of those around where they kept the feminine and agreed to it. If you look at the Wiccan religion and the who did that? Thank you very much for whoever did that. Thank you for that. That was Blue 999. Thank you. 0.999. So you have to realize that some of them, like the Wiccan, the pagan religions, the Wiccan and Druid religion, originally they understood the dichotomy between the masculine and feminine. The Druid religion originally was all men, and the Wiccan religion were all the women, and they did that on purpose to show that masculine feminine energy. And then the two of those were actually the same religion. They were just split into masculine and feminine, and they were running that dual aspect. It was very nature based. I know, because I'm a Merlin, I have that title. Okay, so it's very nature based. Now it's integrating the way it's supposed to. You have Druids that are men and women, and Wiccans that are men and women. They originally were supposed to be separated until we could reunite them, and then they were supposed to move back together. That's what's happening now. They can't stop it. The bad guys can't stop it. They wish they could, but they can't stop that from happening now. Okay, so if they misunderstood the men fighting back, they may be backtracking. Well, the Hindu religion has kept it. You have Taoism and Buddhism and the Hindu religion, where they've kept mostly that they didn't allow the West to edit what they were doing. So they've kept most of that separate and kept the idea. But even in that, like if you look at the Dalai Lama are all men. Do you see? All the people that are in that religion, that are anyone that anyone's listening to, is still male dominated, right? And I watched the Dalai Lama, who I think he's apologized from it, but then he got dumb and had to say some other things. Where a little girl asked if a girl or a woman could be the Dalai, and he said, "Tradition says that it's a man." And I was like, "Wrong answer. You're just." In my book, that was it. He was done. Not the wisest person on the face of the earth, because even I know the answer to that. And the answer to that is, I don't see why not. It should be allowed. And I'm not sure why it hasn't been that way yet, because tradition means that it's male dominated. So even those religions that are there are male dominated. So they're not quite edited, but they're male dominated. Okay. That's an unfortunate thing that most of the Sufis are men in all those religions, right? Do you think that the matriarchy society is what we need? Yeah, no, well, the balance is what we need. The balance is definitely the feminine is now coming back. They can't do anything about that. It's almost to the seminal point now. People are waking up to that, and it's the quickest growing spiritual practice on the earth right now. Is that the Kunda buffer energy that most people don't even know exists? You hear Kundalini, but there are two energies there. One's masculine and one's feminine, and it's not called Kundalini. Kundalini is the masculine fire. Kunda buffer is the feminine energy that they edited out of that. Okay, you can look that up. I'm not making that up. I didn't make that up. There is two, right? Peter, welcome, my friend. So what's happening is that the feminine, the pagans, the Wiccans, the Celts kept the feminine. Even the Vikings did. Even though they try to tell you that the Viking religion was just male dominated, it's not true. Because otherwise you wouldn't have Odin and his wife. You wouldn't have Odin and Freya. You wouldn't have that Freyr. You wouldn't have that. You wouldn't have Thor and Sith. You wouldn't have her being there at all. But they try to eradicate them, don't you? Most people don't know their names, but you know Odin and you know Thor. But it's there. So even in their religion, it's still there, but they're trying to control it. The same thing with Shiva, and the same thing with all the other supposedly very wise religions that started. But if you look at that, even the ones that were started in Asia, they were great ideas for thinking, but they were still male dominated. It's unfortunate. But it's coming back. It's moving away from that, right? My answer, I mean, look at me. I'm European, obviously, right? I am 5% Native American, but you can't tell by looking at me. If you saw the rest of my family, you'd go, "Oh, where did you come from, bro?" Because I'm the throwback. Thank you. There's my wife who just popped in the crowd. Thank you, baby. I love you. Thank you for giving me some roses. She must be on a tea break, and she just popped in. Brooke O'Neill in the crowd right there is my wife, and follow her too, right? I'm Leonard O'Neill. You guys can follow me or follow Merlin and Maeve here. This is our company where we're here trying to teach you guys this, right? So Mrs. Merlin, she is Maeve, right? She's Maeve. Mrs. Merlin, Maeve, right? I say Maeve because most people don't understand that Maeve is pronounced Maeve, but some people say Maeve. But yeah, she's the Maeve to my Merlin. She's the mother nature to my father nature, right? She really is. She literally is. Okay, so because we are that duality. I am the masculine, she's the feminine. And hold on, I got to put the puzzle piece together because TikTok thinks that I'm a robot now. It doesn't think that I'm a human. It wants to make sure that I'm not a robot. So I had to do that, right? My hubby and I are the same. Yeah, that's good. Good for you especially if you guys realize it and you're okay with it, you can venerate that, right? Yeah, happy Friday the 13th, unless you're in Australia like us, then it's Valentine's Day. Because the southern half of the world is already, or at least this part of it, like we're in Australia and the Philippines now and the islanders, and it's moving back towards Europe now. That will be on the 14th, but I'm in New South Wales, Australia. We are in New South Wales, Australia, my wife and I. And it's already Saturday the 14th. It is, in fact, 9:52. Thank you for that. Thank you, my wife. That was Brooke, my wife. She just sent that to me. Thank you very much, baby. So we're already on Valentine's Day and she has to work. So because of that, she gave me a little Valentine's heart on my head. She's so cute. But we'll do our Valentine's thing when she gets off of work today, when she comes home, right? But we were talking this morning and I said, I haven't been live for almost a week. She said, you need to go live. You need to talk. Okay. So, right. So you guys did it last night. Good for you. Good for you doing that, last night. So yeah, then it's Friday the 13th over there. I talked about that earlier when I first came on. That whole thing's bogus. That just was, if your name was on the list, it was bad luck for you, right? Okay, so literally you have to realize that this is a control mechanism that they have to keep us doing what we're doing, and that feminine had to be taken away because you can't control a society when people are free thinking and learning the duality, the dual aspect of the human, because if you start balancing that, you're going to start questioning things, and starting to question things ruins their control over you. You have to be very much veiled. You have to be very much asleep, and you have to be very lizard brained so that you are easier to control. Living in fear is a great way of controlling people, right? So did they manipulate time? They did in a way, but not how you think. There is a thing called the temporal war. I don't know if you're aware of that. And most people hear that word temporal and they think that means time only, but it doesn't mean time. It also means dimensionality. So that's the dichotomy of what's going on with the negative energy. The dichotomy of that fight is that you have it in the past, present, and in the future, but you also have it adjacent. So you also have it first dimension. Well, first and second dimension is just the nature, but third, fourth, and fifth dimensionality, density, dimensionality, physical, non-physical. So they did change time, and they're trying to constantly hold on to the focus of the people. Thank you for that. Who did the smooched me right there? That was my wife. Thank you, baby. Thank you for the little smooch on my cheek. So they did change time because they know that they can fracture timelines by the focus of people. And so when they can convince people to do things, they can fracture time. And we're actually putting that back together. It's weird that you brought that up because I was talking to Brooke this morning. When we got up, I was talking about that, how we're changing different things and we're putting the timelines back together. So you guys know about this stuff like the Mandela effects, and they try to get you convinced that they're the ones doing it with CERN and all of that. It's not true. We're doing it. They're not doing it. So do you think that we are raising our vibration by becoming aware of the lies? Yes, absolutely. The first step in avoiding a trap is knowing of its existence. As you start waking up, if you start questioning reality, you just start thinking for yourself and questioning, that's going to raise your vibration because now you're seeking knowledge. And the knowledge, then as it comes into you, you learn from and ask more questions, and your IQ actually goes up. People don't want you to know that your IQ goes up when you learn things, but it does. Okay, so when your IQ goes up, you're harder to control. Thank you for that, Peter. Pete Star just gave me that little bear. I don't know if you guys can see it on the screen. I see it on my screen. He gave me the bear holding the heart. Okay, Peter came here with us too, by the way. So you literally, yeah, and you can see what my wife is saying in the crowd right there, guys. If you think that you're not from here and you guys want to chat, email us, because there's some things we can't talk about on these platforms that we can talk about. We'll do it on Zoom or on one of the other chats like Messenger, or something that we can encrypt things a little bit more. We can have a little bit more conversations than we can on here. Okay, we actually have Zoom calls that we're doing. We're going to set up 3 different Zoom calls once a week, where we can actually have people into a Zoom room, a chat room, where we can talk, and we don't have to worry about the algorithms on these platforms coming after us for talking about things or saying words. Okay, so literally, let me get back to the time dilation and things. So first, as you're questioning things, that starts to wake you up because you're asking questions and you're seeking knowledge, and you start getting knowledge from the universe. They don't want you to do that. They want to feed you, spoon feed you the knowledge that you get. Thank you for that, Tina. Thank you. They want to spoon feed you the knowledge. So if you start asking questions and start learning things here, you're going to start getting things from up there, getting downloaded into your brain, and that's going to raise your vibration more. And you're going to start going from, I think that I am, I think therefore I am in 3D, to wait, I am, therefore I think. So you're going to realize that you have an immortal soul. And then you're going to realize you are an immortal soul, that you exist someplace not here, outside of here, not in this physical realm. They have to have you thinking this is all there is so they can control you. Okay. So you see how my wife has to do that? She has to actually type it that way. You guys can see it on the screen. She has to actually type it that way, saying share and follow, because for whatever reason, this communist algorithm doesn't want her to be able to say, share us out and follow us, and actually put it on the screen and put it up there. Okay. So I love you, baby. I love you, my Satori. I'll see you at lunch, okay? So yeah, do you see how that's just to write that? SH blank R out, because otherwise the algorithm gets all weirded out. Okay, so you have to realize that they're doing that on purpose for us, or at us, because they don't want us to learn. And they don't want us to ask questions. So let's see, is there a creator guide, or is there a creator? There is a creator. You are the creator. We're all the creator. You just don't remember that you're the creator. Okay. And I'm telling you this. My name is Kelto. You saw my wife say that in the chat if you were paying attention to the chat. My name is Kelto, and I have come from a very high plane of existence. My wife is Satori. She has come from a very high plane of existence as well. Peter also has a different name. Peter is the name that was given to his physical body in this plane. Peter is from a higher plane of existence and came with us. There are many of us on this earth that came from higher planes to come down to this place to actually help get this place unstuck. There is a creator. You're actually a piece of that creator. You just don't remember that you're that creator because down here you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to in this place, but then you're supposed to wake up and realize that you could be, that you have a higher form of existence, and that higher form of existence is somehow attached to the creator, and you're supposed to move from this plane of existence to a higher plane of existence to start exploring that on your journey to find out how close you go back. If not, do you go back to being the being who is the creation of this entire universe? You're supposed to be looking for that, and that's you're supposed to be your upward mobile thing. All beings are intertwined. Yes, sir. Yes, no, we are. And on a high enough level where we are the mind of the creator, we are the collective consciousness that makes up this place itself and the creation and everything. That this place isn't actually happening. We're just thinking it's just thinks that it's happening because we're thinking that it's happening. This is a daydream, and we're in the mind of the creator, and all of us are a fraction, a fracture of the creator. We're just a piece that the creator has imagined so that we could have an individual organic experience. And you're at this place, you're self-aware for the first time, and you're supposed to then start living and asking questions and eventually start to realize, wait, this body isn't all that there is. And when this body ceases, I actually still am. And where is that? I don't know. Then you're supposed to ponder that, and you start moving into that thought process, and that's 4D. And then you slide into 4D, and then you're in 4D running around with a bunch of people who are 3D. And the majority of us are supposed to be into 4D already and moving into 5D. And we're supposed to be trying to get to there, right? How do you remember who you are? If you're asking me personally, I came in this life completely unveiled. So I know exactly who I am. But for everybody else, you're supposed to actually wake up to that. Okay. You're supposed to wake up to that by asking questions and not letting these people in this place, this matrix, lock you into the matrix. You're going to be locked into the matrix until you're not. Okay. So you're in this place, and it usually takes between 7 and 10 lifetimes, unless you came from a higher plane to help. Then you can do it in one lifetime. It doesn't matter if you just got here, because you came here to actually do that. So what you have to do is become aware of these things that I'm telling you that are not lies. I didn't just make this up because I'm not the only person on this earth that's talking about it. Everyone's talking about it, because the knowledge that you gain that comes from a higher source into this brain that you have is universal. They don't want you to know that because they're going, look over here, look over there, look, there's sports, look, there's all kinds of third dimensional stuff. You want money, you want money, we got money for you. You want power, you want fame, you want likes, you want clicks, you want money, here you go, here's some money, do that, come over here. Focus, focus, focus. They're keeping you away from looking within yourself. When you look internally within yourself, then you start asking questions of yourself and of this place. That, my friend, starts raising your vibration. In doing that, raising your vibration, you're going to get smarter, and they're going to have less control over you. Okay. And because the evil people have less control over you, then you can see what they're doing, and you're going to go, most people are starting to wake up to that now. Then once you get out of your way and you start to realize that you actually are a part of the creation, you are the creator, the co-creator of this place, and you accept that and get out of your own way, then that wakes you up. So people say, how do I know that I'm awake? Stop thinking that you're not. How do I know, when is my awakening going to happen? As soon as you stop pushing it into the future. Every time you say, I'm going to wake up, that means at a point in the future, you're going to wake up, not now. So you need to say to yourself, I am awake now. I'm awake. I'm awake, and I know that I'm awake because I'm getting this stuff. You have to see the things that are happening that are things that are awake that are happening. And then eventually, as you believe that and start going, I am not this pain body. I am not the thinking mind. I am not the ego or the conscience. I am that immortal spirit that is above or behind or below, however you need to know that. That is the one thing that's in charge of everything, and that is me. And explore that. When you explore who I am, there's the I am that you try to get back to, right? Let's see. How do you come in unveiled? You have to design your life to do so. I came here from the 11th density, the 11th dimension. I've been on this planet since the people that were here before that died 77,000 years ago when that group of people died off. I was already here helping them without them being aware of it. And there's a whole group of us that were doing that. So that was 77,000 years ago. We were already here before that. So now we've been here and watching this place and helping put things back on track. You know us as the archons. You know us as the archangel. Archon means archangel, but people don't realize that yet down here. So you hear archon, you hear Ajiji, you hear Anuna or Anunnaki. You think is that whole story of the archons who were created by the creator to build these places and make these things were archangel. They created the Ajiji. Those were the angels. Those people were the ones taking care of everything down here, and they decided that they didn't want to do it anymore and we needed someone else. So the archangels created the new ones, the new angels. Anuna means new ones. The Anunnaki, the new ones. Ki is chi, energy, the new angels. But the translation is done by Zacharias Hitchin and Giorgio Tsoukalos from History Channel, and now they have you believing that word Anunnaki means a race of beings that came down from heavens in a jalopy, in a spaceship. It's not. It's you. It's me. It's everybody on this earth. You're the Anunnaki. You are, not because you came from a race who created you that was an alien species in 3D. The race that created you is the race that is light beings that was created by the creator to do this work. That's it. They're not in spaceships. They're angels. They're archangels. They're what you know as those. You're that. That is what you are, but you don't remember because you were veiled to be put down here so that you could be in this place, to be the keepers of this place. You did that to yourself. But you didn't realize it, but the stories will tell you that someone else did it to you. But that was a metaphor for the falling to explain to children down here a long, long time ago, 10,000 years ago, when they were explaining it to a group of people. And now you guys have found those scrolls, and that way you must mean that it must be that somebody was being mean. The fall, the war in heaven, because third dimensionality is how people construct things. So there must have been a good and a bad in heaven, and there was this guy named Lucifer or Satan, and he led an army against God, and God got mad and smote them and threw them down to the earth. All of that is absolutely folly. It's the complete opposite. All of this was done on purpose because you're the freaking creator. Let's go past that part of third dimension construct of war and strife and hierarchy. None of that happens up there. Everybody's just everybody. It's light, your energy. Nobody's in charge except for the creator, because you're the actual creator. You're trying to strive to that. Okay. I don't know if that was too much for you, and I haven't been looking at the thing, right? I am Enki incarnated. Well, we all are. You're not actually Enki, the person who was Enki, but you're part of that person, because when you go up high enough, we all are part of those gods. But everybody down here in third dimension has this in their mind, this delusion of grandeur. Nobody says I was Walt the janitor in a past life. Nobody says I was just some slave child. I was just a farmer. Everybody was a king. Everybody was a queen. Everybody's a god. Everybody's something that is in charge. Hierarchy. That's programming from down here, right? Even a person is. That's why if you listen to Jesus when he was here, telling that the lowest of the low people are higher than kings, and kings will be nothing, because there is no king there. There is no hierarchy there. There is no one in charge there. It just is. You just are, and you do because it's supposed to be done. It has nothing to do with what your job is to take care of the plants, and your job is jobs are down in third dimensional constructs. So you have to get that thinking out of your brain. I am Enki reincarnated. It's possible that you could have been. I'd have to actually have a conversation with you, because I actually know Enki. So I would love to have a conversation with you to see if you actually are, or if you just are going to regurgitate what everyone on this earth knows about Enki because it's been told in the books. Because there are things that are not told down here in the books that somebody would know there. Okay, because you would actually be Enki. So a lot of people love to say that, and they love to say that they are people reincarnated, and most of them aren't those people reincarnated. Okay. And even if they were, they wouldn't be bragging about it to people. They wouldn't have to have somebody know their station. I'm a god. Right? I don't tell people that unless people ask me those questions, and even then there's no hierarchy there, right? Hierarchy is only constructed here. So when you read these tomes and they go, and God did this, and then there was this, and then there was this, and then there was this, humans wrote that. Humans were writing that, okay? Because everything was adjacent there. There is no lower God, and then us on earth, lower. Only in the vibration of where you think you are. because the truth is you're there now. The truth is you are still the creator. You just think you're here. Okay, so because of that, you're separating yourself and you're trying to say that you are something that you're not. But you're supposed to, in your defense, you're supposed to at this place, when you get here, think that. So I came through in this life. Let me go back and answer that question that I didn't get to answer. So I hope you're still here. Those of you who were here when that question started. The reason that I came through unveiled in this life, and the reason so many others like me are unveiling and or came through unveiled in this life, is because this life you're in currently is the last one where this earth will be enslaved, and it'll be the last life that you will have to stay here in. Let me say that again. Okay. The reason that so many people are awake now in this life, and the reason that people like me have come in awake in this life, is because this is the end of all of that. Okay, in the Christian Bible, it said the devil shall rule the earth for a time. That means that there's a beginning, a middle, and an end to that time. Okay, we've moved past the time. It's over. Okay, so you just have to realize that. And everybody else, all the bad guys, have to just realize that. They're holding on to old things and old ways as hard as they can because they don't want to be the one who loses the control. But they've already lost control. They just haven't admitted it to themselves yet. And that's okay. It's the same thing. You have control. You just haven't admitted to yourself yet. So we don't have to force them to realize what's going on. All I have to do is allow you guys to realize what's going on, and they lose their power. So once that's over, which is going to happen in this lifetime, then this planet is going to be the new heaven and the new earth that they talked about in these dusty tomes. And you're going to move into this utopian society, not controlled by bad people. Okay. So thank you. Right. So ever heard of Cliff High? No. Is that a person? Is that a place? Cliff High? I'm not sure what that is. So no, I haven't heard of that, Cliff High. So literally, you have to realize that in this lifetime that you're in now, the world is going to change so drastically that your grandparents wouldn't recognize it if they were still alive. Okay. And then there's going to be people in this life when it changes that are going to say, we were never in a reality like that. That's a Mandela effect. We were not there, because some of you already have come from other realities that have merged into this one, and you remember things differently. Not a lot of you still remember that stuff, right? So, yes, sir. Bianna says, yes, sir. Why? Hold on. Is why I said I'm done reincarnating. Did it for far, far, far too many times. You're ready to go home, right? Yeah, a lot of us were tired, right? So we're tired, but this last one, the veiling is going to be lifted for most people. The veil is lifting. Your unity is your power. Absolutely. So you have to realize that, that's a person, and he's on Substack. Very familiar talks. Oh, I didn't know that. Cliff High, I'll have to look into him. He's probably somebody who came here from a higher dimension, who came down here to do what I'm doing, and he's on Substack. I'm on TikTok currently, and I've been on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and X all forever now, since about 2016 when I started talking this way out loud. Before that, I was doing things in the back. But there's many of us, there's millions of us that are here to do what exactly that, to wake you guys up to see the way it works. And Cliff will probably say the same thing. I'm going to write his name down. I'm going to put it in my phone because I don't want to forget his name because I'm going to look him up. I'm not on Substack. Is his stuff anywhere else? Maybe he's just only on Substack, and that's the problem, right? So I'm going to go and put his name down here in my phone. So hold on a second while I do that, because I want to look him up, because maybe he has videos on one of the other things. But I'll have to get on. I'm not on that platform. I'm going to have to get on that platform maybe, right? So Cliff High. Was that 2 F's? I think it was, right? I'll find him. So I'll look him up. So if you listen to the guy who channels Bashir, Bashir talks like this as well. It has been for a long time. And it's not that we all just like get together and make stuff up. It's because the way it works is that as you start waking yourself up, you get downloads from the universe, which is universal. So your enlightenment, if you're in service to self, let's go back here for a second. There are two types of souls in a choice that you have and that we all have. People who are self-serving in service to self, and people who are in service to others. People who are self-serving in service to self, that's evil. Okay, that's evil. Doesn't matter how you try to cut it. Somebody can say, well, I'm self-serving. I love myself, but I'm not evil. In the universe, it's cut and dry. There is no gray area. You either are self-serving or you're not. So if you're self-serving, you're a narcissist, you're evil. Okay? That is who you are. Just because you're like in the moderate level of self-serving and you're just a little evil doesn't mean you're not evil. Okay. People say I'm not good or evil. I'm walking the line. I'm completely neutral. That's a self-serving person who doesn't want you to think they're self-serving and they're lying to you, because here you can lie to people and pretend you're something you're not. Self-serving people always pretend that they're not self-serving until they can in some way entrap you and make you their slave in some way to where they control you. Okay. They're energy vampires. They're all kinds of stuff. We teach that in this course, the Defense Against the Dark Arts, right here. Okay. My wife and I teach this, and we have them coming up right here, the 15th, 16th. They're 2-day courses on Zoom, 17th and 18th and 19th and 20th of February. Okay. But those are dates for Australia, so the dates are a little off if you're in America or Europe. Okay. So the price is 88 Australian dollars for this 2-day event. But if you're on American dollar, the pound sterling, or the euro, that $88 is going to cost you about 63 to 65, because your money is way better than Australian money, right? So if you guys are interested in learning how to identify the first step in avoiding a trap, all of the negative stuff that's happening to you, and know that it's happening to you with everything, including energy vampires and hexes or any of that stuff, dark energy, disembodied spirits, and how do you cleanse that away from you? How do you reflect that? How do you protect yourself? How do you do all that? 2 days, 4 hours a day, which usually turns into 5 hours a day or so, because if you ask a lot of questions, then I give you the answer. So I give you more knowledge than you would normally get. 2-day Zoom call, not in a place where you have to worry about words, where we can talk about whatever on Zoom. If you guys are interested, email us at Merlin and Maeve. You can see it on your screen right there. Merlin and Maeve at gmail.com, right there on your screen. And say that you're interested in one of those 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, or 19th and 20th. And that's what we have this month. If we can't do it this month, we can do it next month, because it's so popular. Nobody's teaching it. Don't know why. Well, I have no idea why people aren't teaching that. Yeah, so Cliff High. So it's only one F. Okay, so I'm actually going to be looking up Cliff High and finding out who he is, right? Sitting in the sun in my doctor, right? Is that what you're saying? Sitting in the sun is my doctor. Oh, yeah, right? Sitting in the, yeah, going out in nature. We teach this. Going out in nature is the best way, because when you reattach to nature, that actually, because of your solar plexus, right, you have that solar plexus, sacral chakra, that's nature. And when you actually plug that back into nature, it changes the way you see the world, changes the way nature sees you too, by the way. When you stop living in third dimensionality, start moving in the upper 3 chakras, and you plug into the nature of things, right, nature and time space. When you plug into that, birds will start looking at you and go, hey. They won't go, oh, human. And cats and dogs won't go, oh, human, and try to run from you. They'll look at you and go, hey, you're not one of them, are you? Because you start becoming more one with nature, and nature doesn't snub you anymore. When that happens, that means you know that you're truly outside of third dimensionality. You're now part of nature again, and nature starts to realize it, right? So sitting out in the sun, first of all, is good for you, because we are a natural being that lives here. We do get energy from photosynthesis the way plants do, just not as much. So our skin absorbs that vitamin D that comes from the light. Okay, so it's vital, and if you're not getting sunlight, you should be taking vitamin D to make sure that you get that, because that's a vital part of that they don't want you to have, by the way. Vitamin C, vitamin D, these normal nature things, and a few others that I dare not say the words on these platforms because the algorithms don't like it. Okay. Your dreams are very important. Your dreams are trying to tell you things, right? I talked to them as a child. Birds, yes, you should. You should talk to them. They'll talk to you back. Trees will talk to you back. Plants, they'll talk to you. They all want to hear from you. All you have to do is go, hey, buddy, how you doing? And then listen. And then at first you're going to go, okay, did that person just say their name was Frank? That cannot be right. Right. And you're going to start seeing that. So how important are our dreams? Your dreams are very important. We also teach that. If you look on the screen right here, we have dream walking shamanism. We only teach currently dream walking and astral projection, because the other parts of the shamanism, if you're self-serving, we don't want to teach you that because I'm not going to be responsible for teaching you something that you can use against other people, right? So we try to wean out all self-serving people. But the dream walking and the astral projection is dream walking is essential. Your dreams are important to you because they're metaphors, they're allegorics that or allegories, not allegorics, allegories that are being played out in your mind that are trying to teach you something or tell you something or even warn you. They're very prophetic. It's all from your I was going to say your Substack. I'm getting that from up high. From your Substack. They're all from your external hard drive that is giving you this information from downloads from your higher self or your superconscious mind. That the psychologists would say superconscious mind, which is your higher self. They just don't want you to know that they're talking about you as a spirit. And that information comes through that way. But usually when you're in a dream and you realize that you're a dream, the first thing that happens is you wake up from that dream because you went, oh, I'm dreaming. And then you wake up. So dream walking, we start teaching you how to not wake up in the dream so that you can continue the dream and then figure out easier while you're cognitive in there, figure out what is being said to you or what you're supposed to learn from that. And if not, when you first wake up, you have to write it down or you have to stay awake long enough to ponder what's happening. Because if you go, oh, yeah, I'm going to have to write this down in the morning and remember this, you go back to sleep, you're going to forget it. A lot of the stuff that happens from your higher self in the higher realms when you're up there communicating in the Akashic records, the halls of a mentee, the great hall, the great library. I don't know what you guys know that is as, depending on what religious background you have when you were growing up or spiritual background you have when you're growing up, you know the concept of one of those names I just said to you. That's the record of where your higher self is registered and all of your life and all of the things that you've done, the recording of everything of this place, what you're doing, what I'm doing, what everybody's doing is all up there. And in that place is where you go to communicate with your higher self in different halls in that place. And the information that you get, and sometimes you sit up there and you have conversations with yourself or your guides, and they're super intense and they're secrets to the universe. And then you wake up down here and go, oh man, now I'm veiled again. I just had a conversation and it was like the cure for cancer or something. And now I don't know it because I woke up here. Same thing happens in your dreams if you don't write them down. Okay. So we tell people that you should always journal when you first wake up in the middle of the night. Have a pen and pencil or a pen and paper next to your bed. When you wake up, immediately write down everything you remember, no matter how obscure it seems. It might even be just like crazy to you when you're laying there and you go to sleep. And the next morning, when you get up and start reading all of that, you're going to go, wait a minute, this is starting to make sense. Okay. Okay, let's see what we're saying here. Let me look at what you guys are saying. I can communicate with animals and plants. I give them my wisdom. You should. You should also listen and learn from them because they will. Once you start doing that, they will communicate with you, and they're funny. They have personalities. Okay, when I was little, I had. Let's see what you said here. When I was little, I had a dream 3 nights in a row, felt like spinning in circles in darkness. The downloads that you get when you get downloads from your higher self or from your guides or from the universe itself, they come in like a spiral and they spin you around and you're just like, oh, whirlwind and craziness is going on and I don't know what's happening. If you relax a little bit, that stuff will be like a whirlwind in your head, and then all of a sudden it'll just kind of like disappear into you. And it'll still seem like, well, okay, what is it? I don't know what it is. And then all of a sudden, one day down the road, something will trigger that, and you'll go, oh, wait, this was, now I understand. So you just have to that's why we call it a download, because it's like something that downloads onto a hard drive. And the way things download onto hard drives, they just go, and they still do. And then you have to defrag the hard drive. If you know anything about computers, your phones do it. So if you'd like get an update on an app, you're supposed to turn your phone off and reboot your phone after you update your apps, because then the phone unscrambles that and reorganizes the memory so that things run properly. Your brain has to do the same thing with the information that you get. I follow coil metric on TikTok to understand the natural order. I'm not sure what that coil metric is. I'm sure it has to do with the algorithm, right? Let's see, backspins from a sugar high, right? Yeah. Well, that could be happening too, is that you have too much sugar in your body and you go to sleep and you're having some craziness going on as well. You got to look into all that stuff. When you get a little bit older, you start learning your tolerance, just like people who drink alcohol, and they'll end up learning the tolerance. Or somebody that eats too much sugar will do the same thing, or drinking coffee at some point in your life. You got to go, I got to stop drinking coffee around 4, or I'm not going to sleep right until 11:30. I got to stop drinking alcohol this time, or I'm going to pass out and I won't remember anything. I got to stop eating sugar before this time. You know what I mean? You got to kind of do that stuff, right? But you have to figure this stuff out also. Sorry, I was trying to hit the thing over here, and thank you for that. Who just gave me that? Who did that? That was what is that? Is that BB Angel or Bye Bye Angel? One of the others, right? I'm not sure which that is, but thank you for that. Thank you very much. And you gave it to me twice, and I didn't see it the other time. Right? It sent me the "I love you" thing too. So thank you for that. I must not have been looking, or was looking away because I'm over here on my phone, making sure that I'm still live. Right? Is lucid dreaming exhausting? Not really. You have to realize that exhaustion is a physical thing. However, mental acuity is also like a muscle, right? Like I'm channeling to you right now, an 11th dimensional being talking to you, but I'm doing this because it's me. It's easier for me to channel than if I was channeling someone external. But also, I've been doing this for so long that I can have this conversation and talk to you, and I can actually shift between Leonard O'Neill and Kelto and give you information back and forth, and people get weirded out by that because they're not really sure who's talking at what time. Most of the time, like if you get to know me, my wife knows instantly when I'm channeling. She knows when I'm being my higher self or if I'm being Leonard down here in 3D, because of the way, my tone of my voice and the energy and the way that I speak. She'll look at me and she says it before I do. I was getting ready to go on stage in front of people, and I had about 20 minutes or 30 minutes before I was supposed to go on stage. And she looked at me and said, "You need to come over here and sit down and eat something and get some liquid in you." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Because you're already channeling. You're already Kelto. You need to come over here." And I said, "Oh, okay." And I went over and I ate something to get, because you burn through sugar and you burn through the stuff. So mentally, it does wear you out. It's like a muscle. Your brain, the more you use your brain, the more your brain gets tired, because it's a muscle for the thinking process and all of that. So dreaming does the same thing. Lucid dreaming and channeling does the same thing. You have to build up that muscle for doing that. What you take on deja vu. Deja vu is the precursor. When you let me say this. You have an algorithm, and you're moving like a fish through time and space right now, and you're moving, and your body is literally, you're doing this, and you're going off your path, your true path, and sometimes you go way off your path for a long time, and other times you kind of swing back to it and you go way off your path the other way. When you're very centered on your path and you're doing this and you're just kind of wavering back and forth and you're staying on that path, you get deja vus, and that's actually an activation in you that's supposed to let you know that you're on the right path. You're on your true path, whatever that is. You're on that path and you're getting a deja vu. So you're starting to see the future as now. And so you're starting to see that, and you realize, oh, wow, I already know what's going to happen here because I have a glimpse of this moment, and I know who's going to say what. I know what's going to happen, and that person's going to knock over that tray, and look, they did that. And then at first you're going to play with it. You're going to try and change things in it. And eventually you realize that you're not supposed to change anything in it. It's because you're on the right track that it's actually showing it to you, because that's what's changed. You changed your past slightly and got yourself into this place where you skipped over time. And because you're starting to move away from third dimension, where you're stuck in time, where the future is way up there and the past is back there and now is here. And you're starting to actually jump over that because you're having those moments where all of that's coming together and it's just now. So deja vu is one of those things where that's happening, where you're starting to perceive things from the perspective of no time. And you get a little glimpse of it at first. And then eventually you live in the now. Like when I'm talking to you right now, I'm living in the now, but I'm also not here. So I'm actually here, and I'm actually in the sixth dimension at the exact same time as that I'm talking to you. And I'm in the past, present, and future at the exact same time. And my focus is allowing me to be in this moment talking to you guys. But there's other moments that are happening right now where I'm actually talking as well. And it's kind of weird, right? But you only expand to that when you get to that place where you can actually uncover that and be okay with it, right? I'm a clairvoyant, and now only wait. I'm Carnivore now, only North European ancestry? Is that what you're saying? Carnivore? Well, you got to eat vegetables too. I mean, we have to have life in this physical form. You have to ingest life to make fuel for you to live. You inhale air, which is alive, and that air and that oxygen feeds your body with oxygen. So you have to eat things that are alive or very close to still vibrating, plants, animals, and the like. You have to decide what your body likes and when your body, where it functions the best. Some people love meat and hate vegetables. Some people love vegetables and hate meat. Some people find the balance of both, because you can get protein in other ways, so you don't have to have actual animal flesh. But some people, that's where their body resides. I still eat some animal flesh. I don't have a problem with that, and it doesn't hinder me in any way. But people would want to say that it does, because people who make choices believe everybody should be just like them. That's the problem with what's going on down here. Each individual is supposed to be an individual, right? I say the same thing about deja vu, almost like time travel. Yeah, and because it is. I mean, from the perspective of third dimension, it is time travel, because you were seeing the future and knew it, and it was coming back, and you recognized it as it was coming back, right? I've already experienced this moment, and it's just now starting. So it is a form of time travel, because you're experiencing before it's happening in this now, because you were in the now that doesn't have time, and so therefore you were able to see that part way up here, and you caught up with it, and you're like, I already have the memory of this. So where did that come from? Was it a split reality that I was in that was further ahead and I caught up to that reality, or was I actually in the future in this reality? Well, you have to ponder that. Pondering that will actually help you unlock some of the what's going on to you. Right. So that's what I'm here to do, my friend, Bud. That's what I'm here to do, is have these conversations. I'm here in this life to tell you guys these things, to help you guys to expand your consciousness more, so that we can wake up all the lions, so that we can get the seminal point and the cascading effect happening. And then everybody else will wake up who is supposed to wake up. And then those people that haven't woke up yet but are close and supposed to have that opportunity will have that opportunity. And then eventually the 1% that thinks they own this place will be looked at differently, and everyone will go, no, go to your room. And that's what will happen. Okay. I feel like I'm so tired all the time, like my spirit is making my body tired. How can I recharge? That's actually a good question, because this place is bombarding us constantly with everything to keep us in that. And you've come from a place where you're stuck in this place, and you're supposed to be gone out of here a long time ago. So it's taxing, and we're tired. You have to take those moments, because the food that you eat is low vibrations done to you on purpose. You need to start making your own foods, getting organics, things like that. I don't know what country you're in. I just came from the United States. That place is poisoning you. You have to get off the medications. You have to start eating ascension foods. So that means you have to retool yourself and your thinking to eat better foods that you make yourself. Sorry, there's a train going by down the street. Our driveway goes all the way out to the road, and the sound comes right down the driveway and then comes right in the door here. So whenever there's a train honking as it goes by out there, then you guys can hear it. Probably heard the train going by too. It's like a tunnel, because there's a fence on one side and a house on the other side, and all the sound comes down and goes right in the door. Anyway, so you have to change your mindset and start eating better foods, sleeping properly, and then meditate and do these things. Once you change your life a little bit, you'll find that you have better energy. What about people who have developed personality disorders in this realm? Most of the personality disorders that people have in this realm are disorders that are echoes that are coming across time. So most people who have multiple personalities, or think they do, you're actually more than likely, there's a 99.99% chance that that's actually who you were in a different life, and who you're going to be, or both, in the next life. Okay, so sometimes it's you just kind of getting a little scrambled, and you're thinking your ego. You gave your name, your ego a name. You gave your conscience a name and a personality. So you have that one who seems to be evil and the one who's not. That's just what goes on in everybody's head. It's just that you've named them, and your ego will take on that personality quickly, because it's trying to keep your attention. That's its job. And then the conscience will just counteract the ego, and the thinking mind is another one. So you have three voices that are going on in this head that don't belong to you anyway, but they are you. So that's the weird part. They are you, but they're aspects the masculine warlike energy that's negative, that's narcissistic, is the devil on the shoulder, and then the feminine, more nurturing, caring, loving information that's coming on there's the angel on the other shoulder. That's your conscience, and the thinking mind just does what it's told to think, right? So that's usually the narrator that thinks what they're thinking, and then you're the person that's behind all of that, or above all of that, or below all of that, however you want to look at that. So sometimes people put those in and think that they're individuals thinking and talking in their mind. It's just them, but the personas are just taking on the persona of that, whatever it is. But then if you have others besides just say three voices in your head, then that's usually someone in a past life. You were actually that person in a different life, and they probably heard you and thought they were crazy in that life too. I was a heart patient in 2012, but what is that? Sarah Paptis, and I don't know that word. EDTA has me Dr. Free. Oh, you're talking about stuff. Okay, well I think that's good, right? To make sure that you then take care of yourself, do meditation. There's this thing called the Christ oil that every single religion on this realm, in this reality that you're currently in, was telling you about, was teaching you about this oil that is within you. I talk about it in my book, okay, The Reality About Reality, Returning to the Old Ways by me, Leonard O'Neill. I talk about it in this book, and there's another book called God Man, the Bible Made Flesh. Came out in like 1948. That one also talks about this. That one's taught at theological colleges. Okay. And all of the religions on this earth had a form of that, in the form of that savior character that you guys know as Jesus, right? The Christ character that he was portraying, of being sent by his father down into physical form to then have to become unalived and sacrifice themselves, and then become resurrected, and then go from hell to heaven and resurrect. That story is happened in every single one of your religions on the face of the earth. You just don't realize it because they don't let you see that. But it's there. As a theologian, I'll tell you that. So the story of Jesus was, right, John 3:16, for God so loved the earth that he sent his only begotten son. So the story is that God was in heaven and sent his son down to earth. He came down to earth in physical form, so he didn't come down to earth and go, pow, I'm a full-grown person. He came down to earth legally, came into a body, and was raised here. Why? Because there was this legend that was supposed to happen according to the Hebrew Bible, and he was fulfilling all of those prophecies to be that person at that particular time to do those things, right? Okay. So in that religion, in those two religions, starting from the Hebrew and then becoming the Christian, his job was to come down to earth, to sacrifice himself, to teach people to do these things like walk on water and turn water to wine and heal the sick and bring the dead back and all of that, right? Did all those things. How many times on this earth did all of those things get done by a person on this planet? Everyone says, no, it's just Jesus. That's not true. Every single religion had a form of that, a version of that story. Let me show you a few, okay? So let's look at Moses. Okay, Moses. Let's look at the story of Moses. You can look this up. The story of Moses was born and he was Hebrew. There was a legend that there was going to be someone who was going to be a Hebrew who was going to grow up and end the reign of the pharaohs over the Egyptian, or over the Hebrew people. Okay, when Jesus was born, Herod the king wanted everybody to go back to their place of origin, because Herod the king heard that there was going to be a Hebrew that was going to be born that was going to end his reign and start freeing the people. So Herod had all of the families go back to their hometown so he could do a census. Only Joseph and Mary ended up in Bethlehem, and that's where the census was taken on them, but they weren't from there. They were going somewhere else. They were from Nazareth, but they were in Bethlehem when Jesus was born. Okay, so he got overlooked, and he wasn't found out as the firstborn Hebrew son, and he ended up ascending to become that person. Moses was born, and at the time the Pharaoh heard that there was now we're backwards in time 4,000 years. The Pharaoh said, there is going to be this person. We need to get all of the firstborn Hebrew son. We need to end their lives. The mother of Moses, who had Moses, stuck him in the river. His name wasn't Moses, but she stuck him in a basket in the river, and a woman found him and named him Moses. Okay, and she raised him as if he was an Egyptian. Sound familiar? So now he was out of place and time when they were trying to get him, but he was sent by God. Why is that? We know that go forward. He grew up and he was being treated like he was an Egyptian, a prince who was going to become Pharaoh. He found out that he was actually Hebrew, went down, descended into the Hebrew pits, and was being a Hebrew with his people and refused to act like he wasn't. When his adopted brother found out, who hated him anyways, he arrested him and brought him in before the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh tried him and said, you have to send him out into the desert so that he can become unalived by the desert. So he went out in the desert and he walked and he walked and he walked and he walked and he said, I can't go on any further. And he even walked by the mountain, Mount Sinai, where God was supposedly in. And he couldn't go any further. And he said, my God, I'm not going to make it. I'm going to die. And he fell down. And he supposedly at that point was unalived, but God raised him and said, no, you're not, because I have more things for you to do. And then he woke up and it was morning and he saved the girls that were there and he started his trick. And then as soon as he did that, he sees God on the mountain. God says, you need to go. I'm charging you with this task. Go and tell them to set my people free. And he says, but I don't know who that I don't know how to say the words. And he says, don't worry about it. I will give you your words. So now Moses is the word of God. God's going to speak through him. Jesus is the word of God. Moses is now the word of God. And he says, I will speak through you. And he says, who shall I say sent me? I am that I am. Tell them I am sent you. That's where we get the word Adonai. Adonai means I am. So he goes back over and he says, God says, let my people go. And he says, your God is nobody. And they go through the trials and the tribulations. And then there's the 7 plagues of Moses. And I'm not going to get involved in that right this second, but that has something to do with the ascension as well and the proof of that. Okay, but then the Hebrews eventually turned it into 10. So first there was 7 plagues, and then he says go, and he sends to cast the people out, and they go chasing after him, and he does these wonders. At the time, he does these wonders. There's a pillar of fire. The sea is parted. All of these things happen. And then he leads the people into promised land. But Moses doesn't get to go into the promised land because God says, no, Moses, you need to come over here because we're going to take you up to heaven. And Moses goes out into the desert, becomes unalived, and he then gets resurrected. So he went through the same thing, same process, not exactly the same with on a cross, but he went through it. Okay, so let's look at another religion. I'm sure you guys are saying things and I'm missing those. Right? In this, Moses is a copy story of Gilgamesh in Babylon. All stories are copy stories. And I'm a theologian. I'll tell you this. All stories are copy stories because they're the same story being told by different people. It's not written by some one guy who's wrote down a scroll in the ancient times and said, I am the first person to ever write this. And they're never going to find that scroll because that is the story of ascension that was being told to you guys, and it was interpreted that way. So they all sound the same. Thor was sent down from heaven, Vikings who never spoke to anybody in the Middle East over there, to copy these stories down. Their culture is older than every culture in the Middle East. It's just that every single culture wants to say their culture is the oldest culture, and we go back further than anybody else. Even the Chinese do it with Taoism and Buddhism, and those cultures started in 635 to 640 BCE. They talked about one single God prior to that, and that God had an ascension. Prior to all of the religions that are over there today, they had one God. So that goes back even further than all of the other religions, okay? So Gilgamesh, that story of Gilgamesh in Babylon is the exact same story being told a slightly different way. It's the same story as Enlil and Enki. Enlil and Enki are what? If you look at it from a theological standpoint, one is the ego and one is the conscience. That is the same exact dichotomy that is in every single storyline. So you're correct. The story of Gilgamesh in Babylonian story is the same story of the same dissension, the same doing these fabulous things that are miracles, and the sacrifice, and then the ascension into heaven. You know why? Because that is another allegorical story that was being told to you, an allegory that was being told to you about what goes on within yourself, that you are supposed to go through that. And Carl Jung called it the dark night of the soul and the shadow work and the ascension. Okay, so you're supposed to be learning from these allegories that you are supposed to look within yourself and have that same dissension, because that's what you're doing. You have descended into third dimensional reality. You don't remember. You have no immortal abilities because your immortal abilities have been taken away from you and you don't know about it. And you're down here in third dimensional life as a sacrifice because you're doing this so that you can learn and have an organic experience. So you are doing that. You are doing the Jesus. You're doing the Gilgamesh. You're doing the Moses. You're doing every one of those stories. This is what your life is. Yours, mine, and everyone else's. We were on high, and God sent his immortal soul down to earth, and we have been taken, all of our immortal abilities have been taken away, and we're down here and we're sacrificing ourselves for the betterment of all by doing this. And we're supposed to realize that and make our trek back from hell to heaven, from the third dimensional beast that we are, that we have become. You're supposed to realize that and start moving upwards towards the light once again, to remember who you are, to go back to the light. That's what you're supposed to be doing. Fighting over whose story is better told, fighting over when the story was written or who wrote it or where it came from, is semantical third dimensional distractions to keep you from remembering or reading the actual story and learning what the story was telling you about. All of them, if you look at the Egyptian Book of the Dead, it's the same thing. Same thing, and they talk about the chakras, and if you know the secret to get to heaven, it's because you have the secret name of the secret person at the secret gate, and there's 7 gates, 7 chakras. And if you know the name of that gate and you know the riddle of that gate, that means I know how to balance my chakra. I get to go to heaven. It's the same thing being told in every single religion on the face of the earth, not because they all have copied it from some Bedouin who was sitting 10,000 years ago in the desert and he made it all up. Not coming from some alien who drove down here in a bus, in a spaceship, and handed it off to somebody. And that's how they know it, because they created it just to control everyone. It's actual, the way the universe works. It's done that way, and it's done that way on every planet, not because somebody delivers it to them with a spaceship. It's done that way because you're actually not even in a physical place. This place doesn't exist. This place doesn't exist. It just exists in your mind. You, me, and all of this is not happening at all. We are the creator, and we're daydreaming this, and we're pretending that this is a reality. So because of that, we have to pretend that we don't remember who we are so that we can have an organic experience. So we're blocking ourselves from remembering who we are so that we can figure out who we are down here, so that we up there can figure out who we are becoming there. That's what's happening to you. So you keep trying to put it into a perspective. Everybody down here keeps trying to go, that's a scroll that was copied from a scroll that was copied from a scroll. We need to find the oldest scroll. You're never going to find the oldest scroll, because it's the same story that is being told on every single planet on the entire universe. And every single reality that is next to this reality, in every direction from this reality, it's being told there because it's the only truth that exists in the universe, is that you don't remember you're the creator. This place thinks that it's separate from the creator because it's supposed to. Okay. So some are saying, and I probably missed some other stuff you guys said, and I apologize if I missed the other things. Some are saying not to go towards the light. Yeah, those are people that are lying to keep you here, right? That it's just going to send you back down here. They're lying to you because there's a truth to that. Because when you go into the light, you're going to realize that you're going to wake up. When you get there, you go to the place of transition where you remember who you are. And then you're going to wake up and go, oh, I still have stuff to learn. You're going to come back down here. They want you to run away because they don't want you to recycle. They also don't want you to wake up and remember who you are, because the longer they can do that, the longer they hold you in place and the longer they have control. So they're telling you that. They're telling you there's aliens out there that'll capture your soul. There's the moon is a base to capture your soul and zap you, and they can erase your immortal soul, because there's a third dimensional group of people who own this sector of the universe, and this is a place they send bad people and they zap your soul and put you in a body. This is your prison. They have to tell you all of that, because what is the common denominator? Common denominator is you're locked into a third dimensional construct that you can never get out of. That is where they want to hold your attention. They don't care how you believe that. They don't care if you believe that there is aliens there, or if there's machines there, or if whatever. They just need you to believe that. Okay. And that's what they're going to continue doing to you until you stop it. Okay. Because that's what they're doing to keep you here. They need your focus here. So if you're here, you have to be afraid of dying. You have to be afraid of dying because what's going to happen is you're going to find yourself not in here. And when you do that, you have to run far away and don't come back because they don't want you coming back here and becoming more awake. They would rather you be lost in the universe somewhere, floating in a panic, running from people and not remembering who you are. And then when you remember who you are, because you will, when you stay out of body long enough, you lose this because this is the binding that is your blindness, that is your veil happens here. The longer you stay out of this body, the less that veil affects you. So you run away at first, and I don't want to have any part of this. I want to run away. And then it's only going to take about a month, and you're going to remember who you are, and you're going to go, crap, but they've slowed you down. Then you're going to find your way back because it's not very hard to figure out, and somebody's going to come get you. You're going to be taken over there, and you're going to sit down, you're going to relax, and then you're going to go, okay, they fooled me, because you can't fool people that are out of body. You can only lie to people in third dimension, okay? So they can lie to you here and keep you here, and that's what they have to do so that you don't do anything, right? So many tall tales. Well, to tell the lie, you have to tell some truth to it. You have to tell a little truth with many lies. Okay, you have to do that so people believe you. Because if they don't, if you're lying to them and you're just outright making everything up, they're going to sense that you have abilities, and you're going to go, this person is just outright lying. Okay, you shouldn't believe anything anyone says. And I said this on every podcast I've ever done, over 1,000 episodes of my podcast called Orion Rising. And I would wager that I didn't do one once, because I'll bet you I have. Every time I say, don't believe a word I'm saying to you, go and look it up for yourself and go down those rabbit holes. Because the first step in avoiding a trap is knowing of its existence. The second you start questioning your reality, the second you start questioning everything, is the beginning of unlocking what they have done to you. And it's the beginning of your success and your unveiling and them losing control over you. Okay, so that's why I tell people you don't have to believe me at all. And that's why I say what Socrates said about 3,500 years ago. I can't make anyone believe anything. The only thing I can hope to do is to get you to start thinking for yourself. That's it. I'm not here to be your savior. I'm here to give you the tools that you're supposed to already have. So I'm giving you, because I can now, because 40 years ago I couldn't talk like this even though I was awake. When I was a little boy and I told my father, he said the first rule of Fight Club is you can't talk about Fight Club. You can't tell people what you know when you're in this as a little boy. You have to wait until you're a man so that you can take care of yourself. Otherwise they're going to come get you, and they might even try as a man. Well, now in this time they can't. So they've tried. They've actually, critical thinking is what they do not want you to have. Okay, so they got to give you, 80% of it is true. Because there is a light there. You are collected by the proverbial angel of death. You're collected and taken to the place of healing. And in that place, you reacclimate to, I'm this immortal being. You don't have a veil in that place. Okay, I know who I am now. And then we go, okay, so then we move you into the place of reflection. And you go to the place of reflection, and your guides come over and go, hi, how you doing? I fell off of a mountain and broke my neck. Yeah, that was the way it was designed. Was it? Well, something like that. And that's what happened. So yeah, how do you feel? I'm all right. I'm okay. All right, then let's see, how much of it did you learn that you were supposed to learn? And then you look those things over. Well, I wanted to learn all of that. I wanted to learn this and that. I got that, right? I didn't get that, though. All right, put that down. I have to learn that. Well, I want to learn some more about this. I have that love thing going on, but I need to learn more about, taking care of myself. All right, let's design that. And I'll get extra credit for this and that. And I want to do a little bit more of that. You design that, then you start designing your life. Who is going to be my parents? Where am I going to be born? When am I going to be born? What personality am I going to have? How do I want to progress? All of that. And you factor all of those in, and you design all of that. And then you go into a fetus that is being, impregnated. You go in there, you get mind wiped again. You're sitting in there and you're developing. And then you realize, I'm this child in the womb. I don't know what I am. I don't know what I'm becoming. Kind of like what's happening to the creator right now. Creator of the universe is becoming. And the creator doesn't know what it's becoming, and it's trying to figure out how it got where it is and what it can become. So we're playing that out down here for the creator. Yeah, you can't get lied to out of body. Liars are here. That is correct. Okay, you cannot get lied to when you're out of body, because once you realize who you are. So when you start the astral projection and you start going out of body, you have to realize that that's you, that you have a light body, and it's not you here, that you're out of that body. Once you do that enough times, you actually start waking up when you go out there and you start realizing other things and other thoughts that you have that are going on as that personality. That's why we teach that to people, because it helps you to expand your consciousness and wake up from this place. So when you're in astral projecting, then you all of a sudden, it's easier for you to actually talk to other people. It's easier for you to actually communicate at a distance, and it's easier for you to channel people if you're going to channel somebody like that guy does who's channeling Bashir. Okay, and it's a very good possibility that Bashir is his higher self. He just is unaware of it. He might be becoming aware of it, but Bashir is his higher self, his higher self probably, right? And he just is unaware of it and hasn't figured that out yet. And it's okay, because some people channel other beings, because I channel more than just myself. I channel other beings that I am not as well. So there could be that is going on. I just haven't talked to that guy to find out if he's actually channeling himself, right? Creator is having a novel experience as beginnings. Yes, that's exactly what's happening, my friend. We're having organic experiences, so we have the veiling. We don't have our third eye open. We don't remember who we are. So because of that, we're just living this life trying to figure it out. And because of that, that allows us to then be individuals, you, me, and everybody else. We're all individuals, and so we all have a different perspective on this reality and what's happening to us. And that's encouraged, because the Creator's trying to figure out, who am I? How did I get here? What am I becoming? So the Creator itself is still evolving. That's a good sign, right? Because if the Creator wasn't evolving, we wouldn't have this. We wouldn't need this, because the Creator would already know. I already know everything. I don't need to know anything more. So the Creator realizes, I don't know everything. I can't know everything. So let's see what I do know. And so the Creator created scenarios. We're living them out. So the Creator is becoming conscious of itself in third dimensional reality through us, vicariously. Okay. What's the reason for channeling? Channeling is also helps you to expand your consciousness. It also helps me expand your consciousness. Do you see? So the way it works is, let's look at it from a third dimensional perspective. You have pets. I'm not saying that you're my pets, but you have pets. They're not self-aware yet. So you have cat, dog, bird, fish. You give them names. You give them self-worth, and you talk to them like they're a human in some ways. We were just talking about that, and people say, I talk to animals and birds like they're humans. That helps them expand their consciousness into the realization that I am. I think, therefore I am. So the same thing is happening at this level. Those of us from a higher level sacrifice ourselves to come back down here in an extraordinary way, not just by coming down here in the first place, but we sacrifice ourselves to come down here to help you guys, because then you guys, as you're growing up, you realize somebody helped me when I was a fish or a cat or a dog, and I became a human. Then somebody from here helped me from a higher plane to expand my consciousness, so that 10% of all of you, when you get to the level of where I am, will then come back to help people. So we're helping people leapfrogging and helping people going backwards, helping people to ascend all the way back up to the Creator to make sure that we all make it back there. Okay, so the purpose of channeling is there are people down here who realize they came here to do something from a higher plane of existence, but they still may not be completely unveiled. So through channeling, they're communicating with somebody from a higher plane of existence to help the people in this place to expand their consciousness to move to a higher place. That may take from that my take from Cliff High Talks. Like I said, I don't know who Cliff is. I'll have to look into Cliff High. So that's your take from there. So Cliff died 2 times and came back to fight a battle one more time. Oh, okay. They've tried to unalive me 4 times in this life and almost succeeded 3 of the 4 times, but I'm still here. Did I have NDEs at that time? I can't really answer that, because I'm a living, walking, talking NDE, because I'm talking to you from the 11th dimension right now. So, right. But I'm not doing it as a foreigner. I'm not talking, this Kelto is me. That's who my higher self is. So I'm not channeling someone who's foreign to me and moving over out of the way. I'm literally at the same time. When most people channel, is they take their personality and they move the personality like to the back to where they're seeing things like a dream, and the other person comes in and that person talks through them. I'm still right here, and my higher self just sits next to me in this avatar, and then I'm speaking, and then at any time that if someone asks Leonard a question, he can literally just answer that, and then Kelto starts talking after that. Thank you. So it becomes easier, right? What is the 11th dimension? It's actually a density, but I say dimension because you guys only understand dimensionality down here. You haven't started getting the density. Dimensionality is physical. Physical plane that we're on currently is the third dimensionality, third dimension. That's this physical place. Okay, that's where your physical body is currently. This world that you're in is there's dimensionality to it, so it's physical. Okay, so this is a dense physicality. Your immortal spirit is light energy. It's not physical. So it's not this physical body. It's not this pain body at all. It's light energy. It's energy, and it's vibrating at a higher frequency. Okay, that is in a density because that's a dense vibration of life that is non-physical form. Okay, so there's two Ds. There's the third dimension, and right next to it is so there's dimensionality, and right next to it is the density that is this place. The density is where your immortal soul is actually in. You're not in this body. You just think that you're in this body because you're seeing through these eyes and hearing through these ears. So you assume that you're somewhere inside this body. You're not. This is an avatar like you put on goggles. Okay. And you're running the avatar. All right. But you're seeing it from the perspective of thinking that you're here. And this place is designed to make you think that you're here. Okay. So Cliff does interviews once in a while, maybe come on yours. I would love to have. I don't interview people anymore. I do the same thing once in a while. I'll interview somebody. I would love to go on to his show and or have him over here, but I don't do interviews very often anymore. I used to do interviews because I was trying to get people to know people that were awake, and eventually I have to go back to teaching and stop trying to get these people because I was trying to get the person to be more awake that I was actually interviewing who thought they were very awake when they were kind of awake but they weren't 100%. And I was trying to expand people's consciousness that way. And it became at some point, up there, they were like, all right, you need to change that way of thinking now and start talking as yourself again because you're going to give them more information than that these people can. So you've died but are still here. So cool knowing. Yeah, I've been on this earth for more than 60 lifetimes in different bodies. Okay, just this time that you guys remember, right? Since 77,000 years ago, I've been here for a minimum of 30 lifetimes, all the way down to this body. Okay, 60 on this planet, and quite possibly more that I'm not looking at currently because I've been on this earth for about 128,000 years. Okay, by your timeline, in physical form, life after life after life after life. Okay, Peter, who's in the audience as well. My wife Brooke, who was in the audience earlier as well. Okay. Many others. We came here with many others. There are some of you, if you don't think I'm cuckoo and you haven't run from me already, chances are that you're also from a higher plane of existence and you're down here as one of the lions who came here to help wake people up. Okay. Because I'm completely unveiled, my friend Wesley. That's how I know that. I remember every lifetime. I remember being in the womb this time. I remember my being born and squeezing through I remember my first steps. I remember pooping. I remember not being able to get this mouth to say words because I had to get the brain wired to get the mouth to say things because the body was still developing. I remember every lifetime that I was. All I have to do is focus on it, and I can tell you who I was when. People didn't believe me, and I actually said these things and would tell them where to go and look, and then they would go, well, you looked that up ahead of time and just planned it. And I'm like, okay, you can stay in 3D and say that if you want. They're on this earth. They have a title that they call it a Melchizedek. I am a Melchizedek. I just don't use that title because there was a guy back in history who was Melchizedek. His name was that, and he was awake and he remembered everything where he came from. So now they have that called a title for people, and they call it a Melchizedek. The most popular one currently is Drumvalo Melchizedek. Drumvalo is his first name, and Melchizedek is his title. I could call myself Kelto Melchizedek. I just don't. Titles are third dimensional constructs, so I don't like them. So I don't use them. Even if it makes people feel better, I just don't do that. You can wake up finding bliss. You can wake up. You just have to say that you're awake. You have to stop telling yourself you're not awake. There's videos that I talk about that I just had posted on all of my things, including this page, where I actually talk about that. And if you want to wake up, all you have to do is get out of your own way. You have to, it's the law of attraction. If you want money, stop saying that I don't have. If you want money, start saying I am. I am money. I have money, right? You have to change the way that you think and manifest it. Instead of saying I don't have money for that, you don't say that. You say I don't want to spend money on that. I have money. Do you see what that says? That says I have money, but I don't want to spend it on that. So you don't say I don't have the money for that. That means you don't have any money. So the same thing. Quit saying I want to wake up. Quit saying I will wake up. That's future. You're saying somewhere out there, I'm going to wake up. I'm going to wake up. It's not now, it's then. And you're going to keep chasing the then. You're going to be holding that carrot in front of yourself going, I'm going to wake up. 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 And you're chasing that carrot that is on your arm and it's hanging off your arm and you're just dangling it in front of yourself. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. You want to wake up? Wake up. I remember when my twin brother asking for boiled eggs when I was 2 years old, my earliest memory. That's good. Focus on that and look around. You're going to remember other things that were there that you don't remember that you remember. The memory is like a trick in your mind. You have to actually access it. It's the same thing when you're accessing memory on a computer. Your brain, the computer is designed because we understand how the brain works. So your memory, the way that your brain works is the same way a computer works, same way your phone works. If you don't use an app long enough, there's a part of your phone that says, should we take this app and delete it because it's never been used? Or should we turn it off and put it in the background because we're not using it? And then you say yes, and you do that, and that app is now sitting in the background. And the only way you'll ever remember that app's there is when you're going through your apps. You go, oh, there's that app, and you'll turn it on. You won't get any notifications from it, and it'll just sit there. Same thing happens with your memory. Okay. If you don't think about something long enough, it gets pushed to the back because your brain is trying to organize things so that it can grab memory faster. So it's refragging your hard drive. It's taking things from when you were a kid and pushing it way in the back out of the way because you don't access it very often. So because you don't access that very often, it's going to move it over there. So you have to give access to your brain about things, and you have to attach a memory or a timeline or a saying to when I was a child, and then have all those memories in that file. So that the next time when somebody says, do you remember when we were kids, when you were 8 years old, when I was a child, when I was 8 years old? Now your brain is going to go open up the file that says when I was a child. Now everything from your entire childhood is in that file. When I was 8 years old, pulls out that file and opens it up. If you don't program the brain to do that, it just shoves it out of the way, and then it takes you a while to access it. So you have to keep looking for it and looking for it and looking for it. I know it's there. It's right on the tip of my tongue. It's on the tip of my brain. I can feel it. I can sense that it's there. I know it's there. I'm going to find it. Then you go, okay, forget about it. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to go on something else. Then you go, aha! And the brain keeps working on it, and it finds it. Now that you've found that, you'll be able to find that again really quickly because it's now in your subconscious, in your substack, in the one that is conscious, not the superconscious that's unconscious. It's in that subconscious part of your memory now that is awake, and then it has that file sitting right over there, and it knows where it set it down. Okay, so the memories of anything that you did in the past, if you don't think about them very often, they start to fade back further and further, and they're harder for you to read because there's no light looking at them. Okay, so they fade. They just go to your Akashic records. Okay. As a kid, you keep remembering it every year. Well, as a kid, you don't have as much memory, so you're going over your whole life a lot more. The more memory that you put into that, the more they distract you. The more they distract you with this place, the faster your life goes by. That's why people say the older you get, the quicker your life goes by. It's because you're in a routine. Your brain doesn't have to have anything, and it goes on autopilot because you get up in the morning at the same time, you go and you take a shower, you do whatever you do normally. You have a routine in the morning: smoke a cigarette, eat some food, drink some coffee, get in the car, drive to work. Okay, go to work all day, have the same kind of lunch, the same place at all the time. It's easier. You know, the people know you, they know what you want, they get it for you. You like that food, you go and you get it, you come back and then you go home. The day your brain goes on autopilot because it knows that it just has to do these functions. Then you sit down in front of a television and watch TV, or you get on your phone and you go scroll, 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 scroll. You don't remember half of the shit that you saw online because it wasn't very important for you to remember. So therefore, you're like, clock, dunk, 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 dunk. There was that video. I liked that one. I liked that one. The ones you hit like on are the ones that your brain programs for you the same way the algorithm that you're on programs it for you. And you're not remembering your life. You're not sitting here talking to people. I remember that time when I was 8 and I did this, and you're telling stories to people, so you're accessing your memory. And you're having a conversation with people, so it makes you access, makes you think, makes you access your memory, keeps your brain working properly. Do you see? Keeps you smart. They distract you, so your brain starts to shut down and goes on autopilot. Okay, what about technology? Technology, wait, let me see if I didn't. What will happen to evil in 3D? If there's always going to be evil in 3D, because this is the way the creator likes it. Creator created this scenario, and you have to have good and bad and light and dark and men and women and all of these dichotomies, all the yin and the yang, right? That Vesica Pisces, you have to have that in this place because that's what the creator likes. So because of that, there's always going to be evil in third dimensionality. It's just the way it works. All the way up to halfway through the sixth dimension, you're going to have to deal with people who are self-serving. When you get halfway through the sixth dimension and move up from there, those people go away because the creator doesn't allow it to go past that point. They can stay there and be as evil as they want or as self-serving as they want, but they'll never go anywhere. That's the hell. That's the true purgatory. Then eventually they'll repent their ways. That's a nautical term down here on this earth that you guys understand. They'll change their ways and go back to being in service to others, and then they'll start their ascension and they'll move back towards the creator. Okay. So there are always going to be evil people in third dimension. It's just a matter of how much they have control over that dimensionality in that place. And that swings. And right now they've had control for 12,000 years really hard on this place. And now it's swinging back, and it's almost to that point where they can't stop it. And that they've actually passed that point, but they just don't know it, and you don't know it. So once everybody here realizes they can't stop it anymore, then everyone's going to look at the governments and go, no, just no. You have to have this in your arm, and you have to put this thing on your face. No, you have to do what we tell you to do, or we're going to put a chain on you and beat you. No. Stop. And you're going to take back control of all the industry, and you're going to take back, because you don't need money. You don't need energy the way you think you do. You just don't. People say, well, what am I going to do without money? Well, if everybody just did things because they were supposed to be done, because we need them, we need food, right? We need clothing. We need, just do that. You're going to find that there are people who like doing everything, and they'll do it because they just like doing that. I'll do that. If I don't have to do anything else, and all I have to do is pick up your garbage, I'll do that. All I have to do is sew and stitch things. I'll do that. You're going to find that people like doing those things, right? Some people are going to continue playing. I want to play sports. I like it. You can play sports because we need to have sports because we like watching it. I'm good at it. You're good at it. You should play. Because people bring these skills. So when you identify those skills, that's why you're supposed to have those things where they identify your skills and go, well, you're really good at this, 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 and this. You should do one of those things. That harkens back to a time when that's what really went on, where you could excel, because people would say, well, you're really good at thinking. You should be a philosopher. You're really good at math. You should be a mathematician. You're really good at hitting a ball that's coming at you at 110 miles an hour. You should play baseball, American baseball. You're good at that. You're really good at reverse engineering things. You should be an engineer that looks at things and figures out how it works and makes us new stuff. That's what those assessments were originally for on this earth, because you put people and let them have a choice of where they wanted to go. And if they don't like it, they don't have to do it. Okay. Now they want worker bees. So they're telling you, you have to have this job, you have to have that job, you have to have this job. And all those jobs are jobs that make them stay where they are and have all their money. Who is the creator? How did you learn all of this? I learned all of this the same way that you learned about it. I never answered the technology. Technology is part of it is a distraction to control people, like these algorithms on the app. We don't need all of this technology because technology is physicality. And then I'll get to your question about how did I learn this? Okay, so literally, well, you have to realize, Wesley, that first of all, I'm talking to you from the 11th density. This isn't just a regular person that's talking to you. So I can talk because I'm trying to talk as fast as I can to answer your guys' questions, to get as much information to you as I could possibly get to you. Okay, so Technology is a distraction. We don't actually need any technology for anything. Once you unlock your mind, you can realize that we don't actually need technology except for just to go to different places. But if you unlock that's because time is only the distance it takes the physical body to go from one place to another. If we actually unlocked our spiritual abilities, you could actually visit people and talk to them on different continents without taking your physical body and going there. But if you wanted to move your physical body, and like I did from America to Australia, then we would need that technology to get us from one place to another physically until we unlocked enough to where we could just transport ourselves. Okay. So technology is a distraction, but it also can help us if we use it the right way. Like AI is a distraction, and it can be used to keep us in chains, or it can be used to help us advance our civilization like 100-fold. Okay, so let me go to the question was, who is the creator, and how did you learn all of this? The creator doesn't have a name yet. The creator doesn't know what its name is. The creator says, I am. So the creator doesn't know. The creator is still becoming. It's just as likely that we are in the mind of an infant inside the womb of something that it is becoming, as it is that the creator is an all-seeing, all-knowing creator of the universe. This universe is actually inside of the creator's mind. So the creator doesn't actually have a personality yet. So we are becoming. And once we decide what we are, we will know that answer to that question. So I can't answer that because the creator can't answer that. So when the creator was speaking directly to, like, say, Moses, he said, who shall I say sent me? He said, I am that I am. Tell him I am sent me. So the creator doesn't have a name right now. You can call it whatever you want, but that doesn't mean that that's what it is. And how did you learn all of this? I learned all of this because I expanded my consciousness a long time ago. I was created in the first wave of creations. I am what you would know as an archon or an archangel on this earth. I come from the first wave of being created beings. You're from the second or the third wave, and you could be from the first wave and just not remember it. You just don't know. It depends on what you wake up and remember. Okay. What about neurodivergence? Neurodivergence is a conscious thought process that was created by people down here. But the idea of, if you're talking about, because you're saying neurodivergence, if you're talking about a disorder in the brain, or if you're talking about a time distortion, or if you're talking about the divergence into the higher realm. So it depends. You have to give me a little bit more of what you're meaning there. What is the creator becoming? I'm not sure. I don't think the creator knows what it's becoming. If you look hard enough, you'll see that the creator is energy currently. So the creator is becoming something more than it is. What that is, from our perspective down here, when you look at, if you look at the like on my podcast, and it's out there on the internet, so you can look it up, not just my podcast, but the image that I got, there's several of them. The one single brain cell, there's a radial image of a single brain cell on one half of the screen, and then there's a radial image of the universe next to it. They're identical. If you go to my YouTube channel, you can watch my videos from my podcast, and my intro song that you hear on the MP3 file has visuals that are all sacred geometry. And one of the images shows you that the universe looks like it is a brain cell, only it's far more complex. And so they're starting to realize in science down here in third dimension that there's something crazier going on in the universe, because part of it seems to be AI and part of it seems to be a hologram. I was a physicist in college. You guys can look these things up. They're starting to get onto that knowledge that there's some weird stuff going on, that it's possible. So when you look at these things that they're starting to discover, it would look that we were created in God's image. Our brain cell, one brain cell, is exactly the same as this universe. If our brain cell and what that represents in our mind isn't a representation, is the microcosm to the macrocosm, then the universe that we're in is a brain cell inside of something, because it appears to be that. So that would suggest that the universe that we think we're living in is in fact one single cell, and we're a smaller microparticle, an atomic particle, atomic particle in a brain cell, as above, so below. And that would actually explain in a crazy way the Big Bang Theory, because if you look at a cell, when the cell gets, and you can look this up online, by the way, when a sperm goes to an egg and then wiggles its way into the egg, there is an explosion like the Big Bang Theory. There's an explosion of light that they can't explain how it happens, and that germinates, and everything starts and everything expands out from the center of that egg. And when it gets to a certain level, it duplicates itself, cuts itself in half, and becomes two cells. And that would also explain black holes when information is going from one area to another area, and that nothing escapes it as it's going into that area. And if you look at the flower of life and all of the sacred geometry in the universe, it looks like cell division. Identical, not just kind of. It is cell division. So the universe itself is expanding the same way that the universe in our body expands on a cellular level. That'll freak you out. So dark matter is the ether. Dark matter is the energy. What is the energy? The tree of life. Our endocrine system is a tree of life. It's a neural network that's on the inside of this body instead of being on the outside of the body. The neural network in our brain is identical to the neural network of the universe itself. Okay, so your tree of life is internal, and this is the trunk of your tree, and everything else is internalized instead of externalized, like a tree that's out here. The universe seems to be exactly the same way. Between galaxies, okay, between solar systems, there is that tree of life, that force that connects everything that they talked about in the Force on Star Wars, which is the Yggdrasil, the tree of life. Every culture on this earth talks about the tree of life, and that's a force that binds all energy together that we can't see, that is there. It's a neural network that electricity goes on. Okay? So dark matter is that area that the neural network is not actually on, right? This is science in fifth dimension. It is, King. I'm going 5D science. I'm talking 5D science right here. And they're getting there. And that's the scary part, because it's there, right? Define archon. Archon, that is just a different word from an older time in an older language, that the best representation of an archon today would be archangel. So there was the creator, okay? Creator's energy. The creator imagines this place. It becomes into form. The creator needs someone to populate it, take care of it, and do things with it. So the creator created energy that was separate from the creator, that's part of the creator. That energy had to be independent energy so that it could think and do things to create, and was given carte blanche to create. Okay, so that would be the archons, and that word would translate to archangel. Archon, archangel. Okay, then you have the agigi, that the archons created, angels that were created by the archangels. And then they were taking care of, say, the earth and all of the third dimension, and they said, I don't want to do this anymore. We need to create somebody else. So the archons, the archangels, then created a new angel, a new energy, a new key, a new energy, a new life form, a new energy. And then Gigi was jealous, or Enki was jealous, or Gilgamesh was jealous, whatever you want to say. Lucifer was jealous because they were more perfect than the Igigi were, and they veiled them. This is an allegory again. It's not really what happened, but it's an allegory in third dimension. They veiled them and pushed them down on earth, but that's not what's actually happening. What's actually happening is you're doing what these people in history that were the savior were doing. You're doing it. And they're trying to show you that you're doing that. So your journey back to the creator is to realize you are the Christ. You are the savior. You're supposed to look within yourself. And every single religion that you have on this earth, every spiritual practice on this earth is telling you a form of that story. Well, they all just copied it from somebody. You can stay 3D all you want and say that and think that it was just copied from an older scroll that you got to find. I'm desperate. I have to go and find the fountain of youth. I got to go find the land of milk and honey because it's out there somewhere. I got to go find the scroll that says, I am writing the very first scroll of all time, and I'm telling the story brand new, and my name is, and I've created all of this. No one, and then you know what's going to happen, even if that says that, and then it tells you the same stories that you've already heard a different way. People are going to go, he probably copied that from somebody else. We're going to keep looking. They're not going to believe it. Okay. So you can stay 3D and chase the ghost stories all of your life, or you can say, what is it that they're all telling me? And then if you look at what they're all telling you, you'll see that it was the same thing. Enki created us and the work for the Ajiji. See, again, that's just a god name. Insert here that level that's third dimensional caste system. And if you were a theologian, you would know this. You can look this up. Other places they say found a scroll, and then they took the information from that scroll and changed the names of the gods or the creator, and they changed it and wrote it their own name there and said that they wrote it. And then it's the same story. That's what they're claiming happened. Sometimes they borrow stuff like that. What story? The important thing is stop looking in the physical. What is what they're telling you in the story? Let's say that it's true and that there's some guy 1 billion years ago that came down to Earth and he sat down and he wrote these fucking stories out and he set it down. Okay? Every single person since then has realized that that story is so important, so important for the people that it's passed on that story over and over and over and over and over. Stop worrying about who wrote the fucking thing and start reading what the fuck they wrote. Okay? Stop worrying about who wrote it and start reading what the hell they wrote, because that's your ticket out of here. That's the key. Every one of them says to you, you're in an escape room that you created for yourself. There's a door in front of you and a key on the table in front of you. Pick that stupid key up, put it in the door, open the fucking door and go through it. And you're free. And you're sitting around going, that's a trap. That's a trap. It's got to be a trap because it's too easy. It's a trap. How do I know it's a trap? Because that guy just told me it was a trap. And he's been here since the dawn of time and he's not leaving. So I'm going to listen to him. How many of us exist in parallel realms? Oh my God. You don't need every parallel realm you can imagine is a realm. You exist in everything because you are everything. So it's infinite. It would be trillions and trillions and trillions, and you've been alive for eons and eons and eons from our perspective. If you're talking about your single personality that you are on this life, on this earth right now, as you exist at least in about 15 more lives that are exactly like this. There's one parallel to this. Ooh, let's get into this. I'll freak you guys out even further. There is a dystopian society that exists right now where AI is running the place and you have a chip in your head. That one's happening right next to this one. And you're in it. That'll freak you out. Think about that one for a minute. Okay, that'll freak you out. Okay, there is a reality, not anymore because it's been put back into this one. There was a reality where the Nazis in Nazi Germany in 1943 won the war. Okay, and they were in charge of the whole world. There's theories in this one that they lost the physical war, but won the rest of it and have been in charge ever since. There's also a reality where the Japanese, when they bombed Pearl Harbor, eventually went and took over most of America and took the resources and used that and turned it against the Germans, and the Japanese took over this planet. That one actually existed as well. But those are actually been integrated into these societal structures that you're in now. When the timeline shift has been fixed, we're putting them back together. And that dystopian society, which is the one that they're wanting you guys to merge into, so that they can control this place with AI and putting chips in you and forcing you to this electronic currency and all this control. That one they're trying to push you into is trying to get you to merge with the one that's right now currently there in the future. But that one's starting to disappear because we're going to blend it back in with this one, just like we have. You guys know those when the timelines come together, you know them as a Mandela effect. They tell you you're just tripping and you're just remembering something wrong. And then if you go, nope, I know I have that memory, they go, well, then, you're just getting it wrong. Or CERN, we did it. The bad guys did it because we're playing around with CERN and stuff. So it's just us. So don't go there and don't look at that because we'll come get you because you know a knowledge you're not supposed to know. They know that it's not them. They're scared shitless because they know it's not them. Okay. Yeah, the Sumerian cuneiform tablets do, and if you actually get someone who really translated them, you'll realize that the word Anunnaki is not a species of people at all. Zachariah Sitchin in 1948 translated that wrong, knew he was translating it wrong, and wrote 6 books about it and made a lot of money off of it and made a career out of it. Then Giorgio Tsoukalos from Prometheus and the History Channel, Disney, they got a hold of it, and he said Anunnaki meant the god Anu came to Earth. That's what he said in 2012. Then when the ratings started going down in 2015, he got on there and refilmed another episode and said, those from the heavens came. And the word Anunnaki became a species of people. And they came here to create the human race and mine gold. And there's nowhere in those actual words in that cuneiform tablets, all of them, that says the Anunnaki was a species who came here in a spaceship, who created the humans and who put them as work as slaves and who were mining gold to take back to the gold was never mentioned only once. The only time gold was ever mentioned in any of those cuneiform tablets was when they were talking about people going into the temple and leaving things for the gods, and some people would leave gold. That's the only time that word is ever used. Okay, look up the actual translations of that, and they're still propagating that, knowing that it's not true. Why? Because it distracts you and it makes History Channel and Disney a lot of money. And all those guys from the Ancient Aliens pantheon, who I'm personal friends with most of them. Okay, I created Ancient Aliens Worldwide, the Facebook group, which is the largest Ancient Aliens group on the earth. Okay, and those guys are all in it. No word of a lie. You can look that up. Go to Ancient Aliens Worldwide on Facebook. Ask the admin, the head admin. Her name is Mandy Wilson. Ask Mandy Wilson who is the owner and creator of this platform, and she'll tell you Leonard O'Neill, the guy who wrote this book, right there. That's me. Okay, I'm the creator of it. She's running the place and has been for almost 10 years now. Okay, because it's serving a purpose. So look that up. Okay, so all right, hold on. There's questions now. What happened to the list civilizations? Are you talking about the lost civilizations? There's people right now. There's a man on this earth right now called Matthew Lacroix, spelled like with the French word Lacroix with the Couix or whatever. Matthew, you can look him up. You can go to my page on Facebook, and I have some of his stuff there. Matt Lacroix, who also is talking like I am, he's an anthropologist. And you should look at, he's got 2 videos out from 2 different platforms that he was just on in the last 2 months, right? Danny so-and-so and this other guy named Matt, who looks like he could be an albino, but he doesn't have the pink eyes. Got white hair and his skin's very pale, and he looks like he might be an albino, but he might be wearing contact lenses. I don't know for sure because I don't know him. His first name is Matt as well. You can find the links on my Facebook page for him. Matt Lacroix has found the oldest civilization that dates back to 77,000 years ago, and they're actually digging it up, and that's over in Turkey outside of Angkor Wat, a few clicks out into the desert underneath water, and they're digging that up now. And he's also translated some stuff about scrolls that talks about the 3 pyramids, like the Orion pyramids and the ziggurats from South America and Central America, and what those mean. And he's decoding the same information that I'm telling you, and he's showing it in real time in history throughout the world, how it actually means. And he's changing the face of the world right now. And the guy looks like he's about 35 or something. I don't know how old he is. I haven't met him. You guys should look at that, right? I read Paul Willis. There's another one. Paul Willis is pretty good. Paul Willis is not bad. You should look at Paul Willis's stuff. Paul Willis knows Matt Lacroix. All the guys from Ancient Aliens know Matt Lacroix. Matt Lacroix works with Robert Schoch. He works with all those guys, so you guys should look into that stuff. Penny, welcome. Thank you for coming in. Why did the people disappear? Those people you're talking about in South America, you should look this up. You guys should look up. This is a great question right here, right? Ori Oma. This is one of the best questions I've heard in a month. Why did those people in Central America, those Aztecs and those Incans, disappear? 2 million of them disappeared. Do you guys want to know why they disappeared? Because the knowledge that I'm telling you right now about the creation of the universe and what's going on, and that you're a higher being, and that this place is an illusion, and that you're supposed to expand your consciousness to that belief. The people who lived in Central and South America who disappeared off this earth were teaching that to their entire population for more than 2 generations. And those people ascended and disappeared all at once. because they moved from 3D into 4D. Okay? Winked out of this existence and continued living their lives on this earth in a different dimension, and no one noticed it for a long, long time. Look it up. Science has actually showed this. They ascended, Mike said. He knows it. Yes, Mike. Mike knows. You see it. Mike said that, right? They ascended. They sure as heck did. Coneheads before the Incas, right? Confirmation. Yes, they ascended. Okay. And you can look that up. History knows that, but they're trying to keep that from you. They were teaching their people the knowledge that is in every religion here and every spiritual practice on this earth. They were teaching that to their people, and then they ascended. Bad guys found out about that information, and they went and took control of all these spiritual practices and didn't let people teach you that anymore. That's how you get stuck here. Everyone knows about it. That's why I said earlier, stop obsessing over who wrote the fucking scroll and where they got it from, and start reading the fucking scrolls. Because what they're telling you is the exact same thing in every religion. They're just telling it slightly different because it's in a different place with a different culture. So they tell it slightly different. The story of Santa Claus is the story of the Christ descension and ascension. It's the Christ oil that is in you. I talk about it in my book called The Reality About Reality, Returning to the Old Ways by me, Leonard O'Neill. I talk about it in there, okay? And it's in every religion. It's the oil that is secreted from your brain, the two oils, the masculine and feminine oils that are secreted through the Inga and the Pingala nerves that go down your spine to Bethlehem. That's what they called it in the old days. Goes down to the 5 vertebrae in the lower part of your spine that are fused together, the breadbasket, Bethlehem, the sword and the stone. Okay, the story of the sword and the stone. The sword and the stone is your spinal column going in there, and it looks like the sword in a stone. Okay, Santa Claus descends down your chimney. Kundalini fire goes back up your chimney. And if you're a good person, he gives you a present. DMT explodes in your brain and illuminates you. If you're a bad person and self-serving and you expend that oil before it has a chance to explode into your brain, there's a coal-like substance that secretes from that oil in your brain. Weirdly, the ancients knew about that. So Santa Claus leaves you a piece of coal if you're bad and self-serving. But if you're not, and you're in service to others, and you meditate and you eat right and you sleep right, and you're a good person and you don't treat people badly, you get a reward from that Kundalini fire. Going through the claustrum. There's a claustrum in our brain that is a hole, that is a chimney in our brain, in the brain stem. It's called the claustrum, where we get the Santa Claus from. Claustrum. The word Santa, if you look it up in Norwegian today, the word tanta means grandma or auntie, wise person. Santa in Middle Norwegian meant wise person. The claws, the claustrum, the claws was the grommet hole in the sails. It also was the hole in the roof, the chimney in the roof in the longhouses. The claustrum. The claws. Okay, so they were teaching the same story to their people, and the reason that they had that hole in the ceiling that was so big that they always show rain falling through in every movie, why did they have this big giant hole in the ceiling looking up to the stars in the longhouses? Because that was the claws. That was the chimney in the ceiling that you would see the stars at night, because it was the illumination of your third eye. Vikings weren't just marauding, cavemen with big swords. Hole in the yurt. Yes. Claustrum. Okay. Claustrum. It also let out the smoke, so if you had fire in there to keep warm, it would let the smoke out. But those were a lot bigger holes. They weren't a little teeny chimney. They were a big one. Why? Because you could see the stars at night. Okay. Claustrum. It is the hole in your head. It goes to your hippocampus, which goes to your optic thalamus. And those oils would go down your spine, 33 vertebrae of your spine, 33 years of Jesus' life, 33 runs on the Jacob's ladder. Goes down your spine and charges with the Kundalini Kunda buffer energy, twisting up your spine through your chakras, and it illuminates, and it goes through the claustrum and goes to your hippocampus, which is that wise part of your brain that looks like you have ram's horns. You could look at the brain itself and see that. Looks like you have ram's horns. That's the ram god, the horned god from all of Egypt and all of these ancient Greek. That's wisdom, the god of wisdom. You should look that up, right? I'm a theologian. I know this stuff, but you guys should look it up. So it goes to the claustrum and it sits there for 2.5 days, 3 days, and then it's resurrected. If you give that 10% tithing, because if you do that once a month times 12 months, and you do that consistently for your whole life, that will become 10% of your lifetime. 10% tithing, that you are a good person in that time period, and you meditate and you look within yourself and you don't debauch yourself and you don't have sex in that time and you don't do drugs and you don't do alcohol and you don't eat crap food and you actually fast maybe for about 60 hours. That illuminates your brain. It goes into your hippocampus, from your hippocampus into your optic thalamus, and it goes with DMT, and it illuminates your brain and all your brain cells, and it raises your vibration. Or you expend it by living in the flesh, eating of the tree of life, by having sex and doing these things. Then you get a coal-like substance. Everybody was talking about it. 33 degrees. Yeah, the Freemasons. Why do you think they have 33 levels? Okay. So you have to look at some of that stuff. Lots of secrets in Norse mythology. Yes. You should look into that. All the religions have these secrets because they're all trying to tell you these things that they're not being allowed to tell you. So they had to write it, and they had to use things like, let him who hath understanding, let him who has the eyes to see, let him who have the mind to know, or the wisdom to know. Those were highlights that all the words that I'm about to say, or the ones I just said, mean something more than the words apparently look like they mean. Okay. 33 degrees. Or Mayans. Ooh, Mike knows a little bit more. Mike knows more than Mike is telling. Yeah, look up Maya. Look up the Mayans. Look that up and see what that is, okay? Look up what that means. Not just the people, the Mayans. Look up what that meant to the people. Okay. So keep hitting those hearts for me, champions, and keep sharing this out. I'm looking on my phone over here to see what time it is here in Australia, because I'm in Australia, New South Wales, Australia. My wife has lunch. I think she said 12:30. I better check because it's 20 minutes to 12. So hold on a second, guys, because I want to have lunch with my wife. So I will have to hop off the live. I might come back later on, but it is a Valentine's Day for us in Australia. So when my wife comes home, I'll be spending time with her. But let me look at what time that my Satori said 12. So I'm going to have to get off here soon because it's 20 minutes to noon here in New South Wales, Australia. Okay, so what's your diet? Are we supposed to be fruitarians? No, you can eat whatever it is that you want, but you need to eat essential foods, right? So you need to start eating organic, and you need to start cooking for yourself and stop eating the foods. If you live in the United States, you need to read the ingredients in the foods there. Most of the foods, 90% of all foods, even by the companies who make them, are not food in other countries. Okay, so PepsiCo owns Frito-Lay. Frito-Lay, with all the potato chips, are by Frito-Lay in the United States. None of those chips can be eaten anywhere else in any other country, and they have to make them completely different than they do in the United States because they're not considered food in other countries. American bread is not considered food in the UK. Okay, you don't know that because they don't tell you that, but you can look it up. There's people out there that are talking about it. All right, I'm in Australia. I'll tell you, the food over here tastes so much better. I go to McDonald's, and the food over here is the way McDonald's was in the 1970s, not now. And the burgers aren't this big. Like a Big Mac isn't this big over here. Okay, they're big, but they're not as big as they used to be. But they're big. They're not little teeny Big Macs. Okay, Kentucky Fried Chicken tastes like Kentucky Fried Chicken did in the 80s, not the way it does now. Okay, I have those chips. I don't have them on the table. There's like the Sun chips that you guys have over there. That Sun chip company is the Frito-Lay. Over here, it's called Smith's, but it's owned by PepsiCo, and they don't call it Frito-Lay in this country. They call it Smith's, and they have them, and they're so much better over here than they are over there. You know why? Because the ingredients aren't 47,000 words long. When you pick up a jar of peanut butter, if it has more than peanuts, salt, and oil in it, throw it away and go and find one that has only that. Stop being lazy, get a knife out and stir that damn thing up, because you're going to taste it and you're going to realize that's real peanut butter. Organic food is essential food, and you need to start fixing your own food, because you're going to fast food restaurants, and the kids that are cooking it for you, they don't care. They're only there because mom or dad made them get a job. They're like, whatever, flip the frickin' burger and get it out to this guy. I just want to talk to my friends and go do something. When you cook your own food, you actually are cooking with love because you're putting into it your energy and you want it to taste good. You don't want it to taste like McDonald's, so you're making a hamburger for yourself and you want it to taste good and you bite into it. And there's nothing like mom's home cooked food. You know why? Mom is cooking it with love. She's putting her energy into it. It changes the vibration and the energy of the food. And the food has more energy in it. And therefore, it sustains your life better because when you're eating it, it tastes better to you and has more energy and it gives your body more energy. Okay. When you're going to drink water, even Jesus, you can look this up, he would take his cup of water and he would bless it by talking to his water and giving it positive affirmation. I love you. I love this water. Thank you for giving me the energy of life that you're going to give me so that I can sustain my life. You are the greatest thing. And then you stir it slightly. Stirring water charges energy to it. So my intention is going into that water that it's a beautiful, loving life, although this is in fact coffee, but you understand, right? And then you drink that structured water. That's why they're selling you on that now, but they're structuring it a different way for you. But structured water, okay? Habitually rearranging it. I make ormus. Ormus is habitually rearranged seawater. So you're literally you're reconstituting, habitually rearranged, reconstituted seawater. So I'm taking sea salt from the Dead Sea over in Jerusalem, that area, and I'm putting it back into purified water so there's no crap in it. And I'm re-stirring that. In the act of stirring that, I'm doing something else that I can't tell you online, casting a spell on it and creating seawater that is purified now with all the minerals of the Dead Sea salt. And then I'm putting one other chemical in that, but I'm not doing it the way that they're doing it so I can make ormus in one day. I'm doing it with the ancient Cleopatra method from 5,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago, that the Egyptians knew about, called the wash method. And I put that in there and I spin that as well. And I do it a certain amount of times, facing a certain direction, saying certain things in an incantation. And then I cover it in a Faraday cage so that no electronic communications or anything can disturb it. And I store it. And every day I drain the water off of it and add new purified water to it. And I re-stir it again a certain amount of times, going directions and back directions and directions with certain incantations. And when at the end of that, when all the salt is gone out of that, what's left over is this beautiful white cake that is the white gold that you guys know about and that the Anunnaki supposedly came here for. Okay. And that is the building blocks of the universe and all of those things that you need that come from only that place, the Dead Sea salt from that place in the Dead Sea over there. That's why they're fighting over that, because he who controls the spice controls the universe. Okay. So that's why they're fighting for control of the Dead Sea area of this earth so heartily by people all around the Middle East, because whoever controls that controls the actual gold on this planet, not that stuff that's in everything that sucks all your energy out of you that we put in cakes and pies and there's alcohol with it in it. Goldschlager. This is the white gold that people actually are sought after because it raises your vibration. And one more thing being done to that when I make that is manna. That is the gold. That is the food of the gods that came in the Ark of the Covenant. Okay, I am an alchemist. I'm a Merlin, for crying out loud. Okay, but I can't tell you guys all of this because negative people try to use that manna for negative things. So we don't get to give you that information anymore because negative people already think they own this planet, so they're not getting how to do that. Okay. Can you get it from the Great Sea Lake in Utah? No, the only place that I found, I keep checking. I keep trying to do it with other sea salts I even tried like the Celtic sea salt. I've tried Himalayan sea salt. I'm trying every kind of sea salt on the earth. And everybody has always told me it's not going to work only from, and I'm like, I'm a scientist. I'm going to see if I can make it work. You can add the stuff from like Himalayan, the pink sea salt. You can add that to the ormus and it'll add other properties to it. It'll make that cake a slightly pink, right? And you'll get more minerals, but you can't actually make ormus. You can only make ormus out of two kinds of sea salt on this earth. The sea salt from the Dead Sea over there in Jerusalem, that area, or the other ocean that is still intact in Antarctica under all of that ice. There is an ocean under there that hasn't been undisturbed by the top side and all of our junk that we have from the earth. So it's still pure underwater down there, but you guys don't know about that. And most people don't get access to that. 99.999% of the humans on this planet don't get access to that one. You can take that seawater and make ormus out of it, but the governments are controlling that. So right now, the only one that's topside that we can get a hold of is from over there in the Jerusalem area, the Israel area where the Dead Sea is. So the other one, they're not allowing anybody to get control of that one. That one's under the ice. Coil metrics can turn platinum into gold. Yes, you're absolutely right. And I watched them do it with radioactivity. The only problem is that it costs, because everything that they're doing right now is through physics, is through blowing something up. So through fusion, this fire that everybody's using to create energy, it costs too much money to turn lead to gold, so they just don't do it. Because it costs you more money to make the gold out of the lead than you get from selling the gold that you make. So until they start using free energy in the cold, instead of using the fire to make energy, and they move into the feminine side of the universe, into the fractal side of the universe instead of the fraction side that we're in, get away from the sharp edges and the fire to create energy by exploding objects into other objects, or transforming objects from a liquid to a gas by fire, by a spark, and get into the other side of the free energy that you could use by, say, transmitting energy into something crystalline, the way the ancients did, like with, say, salt rock, sandstone, and lift up 450-ton blocks with a finger and move them into place and set them down, because 90% of the solid mass of that is hollow, like sand and salt and crystals and glass, because it used to be sand. This is still a liquid. You just don't know it is. You think it's a solid now because it's been melted and turned into this. It's been partially vulcanized and turned into this. But if you set this glass down, or you make a window pane and you leave it sit, and you measure the actual glass itself, and you leave it there for 100 years, you're going to come back and you're going to find out that the glass at the bottom is now thicker, because the actual sand, the actual non-physical piece of sand, is liquid, and it's sitting there, and it actually is moved down, and the bottom of it's thicker and the top of it's thinner. You can see that in old houses. They know that to be true. This glass is not a solid. This is a liquid, but it's moving so slow that we use it to drink out of. But it's actually a liquid. You have to open up your mind and move past the thinking of reality and physics the way that you think. This is a liquid, and I'm drinking liquid out of a liquid. These molecules are moving so much slower, they can hold the other liquid, which molecules are separated a little bit more. Water, how far is water off of a gas? Right? Water that you drink is H2O, hydrogen, H2O. Two hydrogen and one oxygen molecule make up the liquid you drink. What is air that you breathe? O2. 2 oxygen, no hydrogen. Okay, so if you add one hydrogen molecule to that oxygen, it doesn't do much. But if you add 2 hydrogen molecules to that one oxygen and remove one oxygen molecule, you have water. If you add 4 hydrogen molecules to those 2 hydrogen, the oxygen molecules, the 2 hydrogen will collect onto one molecule of oxygen and become water, and you'll get 2 drops of water, or 2 particles of water. So your air that you breathe is almost water. And in some respects it is. It's not quite a gas. If you add oxygen to it, or hydrogen, you add hydrogen to the oxygen that you're breathing, and that hydrogen turns that into a liquid. This is similar in that respect. It's a liquid that you think is a solid, and you can heat that up, and you can bind it together and then expand it and make it into something. And then when you cool it down, you think it's just one big chunk now, but still crystalline, still accepts energy. Got to get outside the box of thinking. They don't want you to think about this stuff that way. They want you to look at, really old mirrors, right? then people do these things where like they freak you out with mirrors, okay? And they have somebody stand in front of a mirror and hold up a towel, and they hide behind the towel, and you walk over there, and how can you see their image behind that towel in that mirror if they're hiding their face behind that towel? How is their face there on that mirror behind that towel? Okay, the reason that it's doing that is because the light particles that are in the room are bouncing off all of the walls, bouncing off of you and reflecting the image of that person's face. That it's coming, the light is coming down and bouncing off of the towel in front of them and bouncing off of their face and bouncing off the towel and going up and bouncing off the wall and coming down and bouncing off the mirror. And so therefore it's illuminating and painting, because it's what? Because it's a hologram, not the glass itself, but the place you're in is a hologram. So because of that, the light particles are bouncing all around in here, and it's carrying the image, and it's painting the image because it's supposed to be painting the image of everything. When it hits something, it's transferring the energy of that thing to the next thing and leaving some of it behind. Okay, so the energy coming from the light bulb in the room, or your camera, or the sun coming in, like I'm getting natural light coming in, is bouncing off of me, and it's creating my image for you to see because it's illuminating me. That's why this part of my face is brighter than this part of my face, because this part has got particles of light that is touching it. Do you see? So the same thing happens if you're standing in a room and you're holding up that image. The light is bouncing all around in the room. The particles are going everywhere in the room, bouncing off of everything. And because of that, it fills in the dots like pixels of the image. So the image that is there in this reality, the reality is trying to paint that image for you to see. You have to see something on that because that thing is reflecting depth. It's reflecting the room. So therefore, because it has that back there and it's reflecting depth of the room, it doesn't know that it's not supposed to paint the entire room because it's not told not to do that. Okay, so the philosophy of the creation is that you're creating that place and you're creating this room as third dimension. And because that's a reflection of that, you are creating the image of what you're seeing and the light bouncing off of that behind that mirror, behind that towel, that it shouldn't be able to project to you. It's not. You're projecting it because you're creating this reality. You have to realize that. Our different recipes of tin and silver plus secret ingredients. Oh, yeah, well, you're getting kind of onto some of that. I don't know what you said before that, but yeah, right? We are made of light, correct, and we are in this body. So we are the ones who are creating this place. So when you do that, it's an optical illusion. Okay, and so a hologram, right? Define a hologram. That's almost impossible. You should read Michael Talbot's book. Michael Talbot wrote a book called The Holographic Universe. And in that book, he starts out by showing how science got onto the idea of a hologram and our memory being a hologram and the universe possibly being a hologram to become a holographic. And he goes through all of the progression of that up to the modern day, and that all of the theories today about the possibility of the universe being holographic come from then people looking at Michael Talbot's stuff and how he saw it, put it all together, and by studying everybody in all of science where they were kind of moving into that. And they tell about that, like where they took a squirrel's brain out and they dissected the brain and put the brain back in, and the squirrel could still do complicated things. And so they sliced off another piece and another piece and another piece. Then they realized that the brain itself is holographic in some way because it remembers everything like a hologram. So it doesn't matter how many pieces of it you pull apart. That one little piece that's left has all of the information that every part of the brain still has. They've proved that through science that happens, and they believe that the same thing happens with the human mind. So they're also believing that the universe works that way in and of itself. So everything in a hologram or a holographic universe is that every portion, every atom, every molecule of, say, all of this glass that makes up this, let's just cut it out to that glass, all of the sand in here that's been melted into this glass has the memory of every part of its whole in every little teeny portion. So the science is believing that, and then that's what a hologram is. A hologram is something that will occur and shimmer depending on where you and how you look at it, and it'll occur in 3D, even though it's not a third dimensional object. 4D object will appear there when you shine light on it or through it. And so therefore it becomes something, and it appears in your brain to be something that is a third dimensional object that is sitting in front of you that quite possibly isn't actually there. Okay. So what happens when you get lobotomized? Well, see, same thing. They've realized that some portions of the brain, because of the motor function of the lower part of the brain, they can take that out, but they can't get rid of all the memory that's in there. They can find different portions to chop out to make you a little bit more docile, but that's just the portion of the brain that controls those motor functions. You still have all of the memory in the rest of the parts. So if they remove enough of your brain, you won't be able to function, because there won't be enough there to keep your body going and to keep your mind in its place. And then you'll stop being able to interact through that. But people who have catastrophic damage to their brain, they just need to get the brain to rewire itself, and it will rewire itself to connect to the same neural networks in a different neural pathway and create new neural networks to find that same information that you had before. It's there stored in a different place, but it can't find it in the place where it was before, because that place is now damaged or gone. Eventually your brain will rework itself. People have strokes and things in their mind, their brain, and over time they get rewired. Their brain finds those old memories anyways, and remembers how to move. Some people don't get that back because they don't work on it, and they stay sort of paralyzed because they don't try to go through the progression of trying to make that all happen. The belief that it's going to be able to be okay. Alzheimer's patients, my mother actually was unalived by that. And I kept her alive for about 8 years longer than they said she should have been, because I was giving her different vitamins and minerals that were recharging and cleansing her brain and helping her brain to rewire itself. And the doctors were like, "What are you doing?" And I told them, I said, "I'm giving her these different natural chemicals that are designed to do these things, and it's stimulating her brain and rewiring her brain." And I kept her alive for about 8 years longer than they said she should have been. But they won't come out and say truthfully. There's my wife. She must be on her way home for lunch. I'm going to have to go in a second. They won't say truthfully that. They'll say, well, some people live longer with it than others, so it's just possible that what you were doing didn't do anything at all, because the pharmaceutical companies own the industry, and they can't tell you, you can't know that something that happens in nature naturally will help you, because they can't charge you for it. Right? So they have to tell you that that doesn't do anything for you, that only the stuff that they manufacture does anything for you. That way they can control that thing and get money out of you. So that's why during that thing that we had that started in 2020 and went to 2023, 2024, that's why during that time they told you that natural things like vitamin C, vitamin D, and vitamin E wouldn't do anything for you, and to stop taking that stuff, that you need to have this thing that we want you to do. And then those people who didn't do that and did that sort of stuff weathered the storm just fine, better than the people who did what they told them to do, right? And that could be up for debate, and you can believe whatever it is that you want to believe about that. Time will tell the truth of that. But we do know that they were trying to slow down herd immunity and control herd immunity so that that would last longer, okay? And if you think I'm lying about that, you really need to look into it, because all of those conspiracy theories that everybody was saying in 2020 to 2024 is now becoming conspiracy fact in 2026. Okay. And as we go forward, it'll be even more so. So the truth is that there's certain that here's what actually happens. You can look this up. What happens with, say, Alzheimer's is that you get too much aluminum in your body, and it collects in your brain, and it collects in the plaque that's in your brain. Okay, that's in between the brain itself, and the brain is actually made up of what's the word I'm looking for? Give me a second. I have to pull myself back down to physical form here. I can't think of what it's called. Give me a second. So there's a plaque that's in your brain that, if you're sleeping properly and your body is healthy, because you don't have too much sugar in it, so you don't have high blood pressure and thick blood, when you sleep and you get to that cycle of your sleep, that's the 8-hour cycle, the last 2 hours of that sleep, if you're sleeping 8 hours a day, your body heals itself and pulls this excess plaque out of your brain if you have too much of it. Aluminum that we put in our bodies from aluminum cans that we were drinking out of and eating food out of for, since the 1940s around the world, that aluminum builds up in our body. And then you have deodorant that you put on that has aluminum sulfates and aluminum phosphates in them. That aluminum gets into your brain and gets caught in that plaque. And if you're not able to pull that plaque out of your brain, it builds up in your brain. And aluminum is conductive, so it actually stops the neural network, or it's non-conductive in that way. And so your neural network can't fire properly. And so your brain starts shooting electricity where it's trying to go from one neural network, from one ganglia cell, from one glia cell to another, and there's stuff in the way, and it attracts to that, or it hits the other parts of the brain, and it starts doing damage to you. Okay, and it's not caused by the aluminum, but it's caused by the buildup of the aluminum because of the buildup of the plaque, because you're not sleeping properly and you're eating crap food that has too much sugar and too much salt in it, which is making an inflammation everywhere in your body. And they know this, and they're letting you do it. In fact, they're encouraging it, and they're putting sugars and salts in all your food. And then they're trying to get you to, and fluoride. Thank you. Fluoride. Thank you, my wife. There's Satori. She just popped in. And fluoride. And that also solidifies your pineal gland and keeps you from your third eye opening up by putting a crustacean on there. Fluoride freaking like cement on your third eye. No joke. Okay. So these things, they tell you that you can't, they're trying to keep you from sleeping well. So you're drinking alcohol and you're taking drugs and you're taking their medicine and you're not sleeping properly. You keep the inflammation in your body. They keep you sickly. Your body doesn't clean the plaque out of your brain, so it doesn't clean the aluminum out of your brain. And guess what? You end up with that Alzheimer's or dementia because of it. Okay. So if you start eating right and sleeping right and balancing yourself and tuning up your body and eating good foods and not their bad food, guess what happens? Your body cleanses itself naturally. It realigns itself, and you stay younger longer, and you also have a smarter mind. Okay. Right. Can we talk about what is that? Stoicism? Is that what you're saying? Stoicism sometime? Yeah. Just follow. Make sure you follow me. Make sure you hit that button, guys, so you know that when I go live. You guys can also message us, and we do communicate that way, right? So yeah, okay. Because yeah, we could talk about that, because there are some people that are very stoic. I used to be very stoic. I don't know. I don't have time now. You do follow me. Thank you, Mike. I don't have time right now because my wife is literally on her way home right now, I believe, and we're going to eat lunch. So if I go back live again after that, we can talk about it. Otherwise, it'll have to be tomorrow. If I go live tomorrow, okay. But remind me. I'm going to write this down. I'll tell Brooke, if you're listening. We want to talk about that, right? Yeah, Natalie says go, right? Yeah. So let me get off here, guys. I love you guys because I want to spend lunch with my wife. And then maybe I'll come back live after that and then go talk to you guys some more today. If you guys are still up and you want me to come back, I'll come back in about an hour and a half once we're done. Her and I are done eating lunch. I'll come back live and we can talk more about that. I used to be very stoic and didn't talk very much. And there's some people that are that way, and they don't talk much, and they're just very non-emotional. There's nothing wrong. It's not a disorder. It's a choice that some people make. I was that way, and then I changed to become more vocal because I was very quiet. Some people are on the spectrum are that way, and they don't have that emotion, and some people choose that. So we can get into that. So let me get off here so I can get some lunch for my wife. Penny, I love you. Thank you for being here. Peter, if you're still here, thank you, brother. And I might come back in about an hour and a half, and then we can talk about that more, because that's actually something that people should be knowing about. All right, guys. I love you guys. Have a good day. If I don't come back, have a good day. I'll be back probably tomorrow, but I'll try to get back here and then talk before my wife gets home from work, and then we're going to spend Valentine's Day together. Okay. So I love you guys. Make sure you're following me if you're not. And when I go back live, remind me, and I'll try to remember when I go live to talk about that, especially Mikey, when you're in the audience, make sure you bring it up again so we can talk about it. Okay. All right, guys. I love you. Have a good day, and we'll talk later. Like I said, I'd like to come back on after lunch, so we'll see if it's in the cards. I'll be back after lunch, and we'll talk about it then. Otherwise, we'll talk about it tomorrow. And if Mike, I miss you, and you come in the next time you come in, we'll talk about it again. Okay. So if you come in when I go live next time, cool. But if you miss the time and you come back, go, dude, and then we'll talk about it. All right. I love you guys. Make sure you follow me. I'm here to answer your questions. It's what I do. It's why I came to this earth. Okay. I'm here to help you to remember who you are and why you are here. Okay. So I love you guys. And Penny came here to do the same thing. She came here with me. Peter, if he's still here, my wife was here now. So I now have to go because I have to have some lunch with my wife. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you guys later on. Okay. Have a good day.